What's up, guys? Kirk here with Work to Game, here with a special episode of the Epic Loot Radio podcast. It's actually the Pure Dead Gaming podcast because we're having a podcast takeover here with our boys from across the pond, and we couldn't be more excited. I'm gonna let Donnie here plug their show in a minute, but they're a great outlet operating out of Scotland that does regular video game reviews. They're official, they're established, unlike Work to Game. Their score actually shows up in the Open Critic score, so you can go give them a hard time if they didn't rate your game high enough, and it brought the Open Critic score down. But no, they're a great podcast, and we're really happy to have them taking over the show on Work to Game, and couldn't be more excited to have them here. And we've got a great show lined up for you guys here on Work to Game with the Pure Dead Gaming guys coming in. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff, some games, maybe a little bit of Pacific Drive, some big news coming out this week. We are going to get these gentlemen's thoughts on the Xbox news and a little bit of PlayStation spice and salt to boot. But yeah, since it is a podcast takeover, I'm going to be letting Donnie take over with hosting duties, since that's sort of his whole gig over at Pure Dead Gaming. And yeah, to start us off, Donnie, why don't you tell us what y'all have going on over there at Pure Dead for people that want to check you out, and then I'll just let you get into hosting the show.
Thank you for that. That was a great introduction, Kirk. You did that perfectly. I liked it, smooth. No, yes, thank you very much. I'm Donnie, and this is Craig. We are from Pure Dead Gaming. I host the Pure Dead PlayStation supplement, and Craig and his partner Jess host the main Pure Dead Gaming podcast. So we've got a range of podcasts. We've got reviews on the website, like you said, and a raunchy Twitter account sometimes. But Craig is the sort of the main man most weeks, and I'm here fortnightly doing the PlayStation podcast. So. Yes, Craig, how are you?
I'm
Been a while.
fantastic. It has been a while. It feels like I'm podcasting less because I am, but time's just passing faster and faster and faster. Life doesn't slow down, and neither do the game releases, unfortunately.
Yes, yeah. This year
Time
already
to catch up.
is shaping up already. So yeah.
I know we got a range of topics to get through, so we might as
Yes,
well
we do.
get on to that.
And the thing is, we've actually got games to discuss. I feel as though the last few episodes have all just been kind of news centric, and we've got some big talking points, but we've also got a lot of games to discuss. And you guys are going to kick it off because Craig, earlier on, you were actually playing Banishers: Ghost of New Eden, and Kirk, you and Lono reviewed it as well. So
speaking of Scottish people, Scottish protagonists with a buttery smooth voice, I'll be interested to hear if that's like a real Scott, because me and Donnie were talking about Assassin's Creed Rogue and how Shay Cormac does not have a real Irish accent. So I'll be interested to hear if Red McWraith has a good Scottish accent, or if it's a terrible imitation by somebody that's not actually Scottish. But he sounds Scottish to me, so maybe he's actually
Sounds Scottish to me.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
good.
No, it's pretty spot on. See, to be honest, like it's really refreshing.
Yeah.
While I'm playing through the game, I was going to say I think I'm maybe 6 hours in at the moment. And it's a total breath of fresh air to hear that accent on the regular, and they have been. I don't know. I feel like in the past, with some Scottish accents, it's never really been the main character, and if it is, they've dialed it back.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of the Scottish slang in there, and they've just went with it because it fits. And like, there will be people that will be like, I'm googling, I don't know what that means. What is he talking about? But I really like that it works for me, and I think it's sort of historically accurate as well, which is good. I think the voice acting in the game is absolutely fantastic.
Even his
really good.
Like, it feels so authentic. Like, he starts out with sort of like a plaid type of a scarf, but it's like more utility focused in a scarf. I think it's like a satchel type of thing almost,
Yes,
but it's like an article of clothing, and it looks very like traditional and sort of like heritage based in terms of like he's definitely retaining this identity even coming over to colonial American. Like, you can tell by his character design, by his outfit, even by like the cut of his beard and everything, like, oh, this is somebody that is from a certain part of the world. And then just like when he opens his mouth and talks, like, I have subtitles off for like immersion, and sometimes it's challenging for me to be like, I really got to listen to this man when he talks, and like that's cool because I can understand what he's saying, but like sort of that strain of my ears, it's it's like going over like a nice little like hill and valley, like when he talks, like it's like, oh man, like he's like deep in there with that accent. Like he's got that voice actor is eating it up like every time he talks. And
Absolutely.
it's so great. Like when you're just doing combat or like just like exploring the world and you like come upon like something that like in the world that like you can interact with or something. He's got like I can't do it, but like he's got that inflection of like, oh look at that there, you know, like he's like kind of like he's like he's very like reflecting like in the way that he speaks, like you can tell that he's pensive and he thinks about things, and he's not just like this like oaf that you see in like first person shooter games. It was like, yeah, we gotta take these guys out, you know, like whatever. Like he's a more layered character, and I think that brings a lot
Very
to
much so.
the narrative aspects, even when you're doing more like you've got to have that. Like if you're gonna make, I keep referring to this as kind of like a God of War like light or like knockoff. Like this feels like double A God of War, and I think it's the closest to a God of War clone that we've gotten since God of War like changed, you know, and became that third person over the shoulder narrative based, you know, combat and exploration focused action adventure game. This is kind of the only really one-to-one clone that we've gotten from a double A studio or the like, and so you've got to have a protagonist that carries their weight, and like Red kind of does it. Like I'm glad that they didn't try to like make a knockoff Kratos or anything. Like he's doing his own thing. Like, you know, he's like a woodsman and a Scotsman, and like he's resourceful. You know, he can get out of a bind. You know, he can he's got his wits about him and his sword about him too. So yeah, he's a great character, and I love him. And I think if I didn't love him, the game would not hit near as much for me. So fantastic to see, and a little bit representation for your lot as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like it's very character driven, and I think the character does a lot of little things that just get you behind him. Like, yeah, he does have that tough exterior, but then when he's talking to Antea, like he's got that softness as well.
Yeah.
Like he does have, like, he turns into almost like a different person when he's talking to her.
It's like a dad or like a protector type of like a protector, like a romantic dynamic. Like he cares for her. You can tell in his vocal cadence. Yeah, for sure. He's so emotive when he's delivering lines. Like you can kind of tell what he's feeling when he talks, and I think that's so important for like a character driven game like this. I don't really feel that way about whoever plays Antea. Like I'm not trying to like you know, throw dirt on anybody or anything, but like she comes off a little more like she's definitely doing the like foil to him of like, I'm straightforward and I'm got to be serious about this, and it comes off almost a little bit too overbearing. It's like, yeah, I get it, like you're very much by the book and you're gonna like keep me in line. Like Red seems kind of the more like exuberant kind of, you know, his mind is open to like the fantastical and the possibilities, and she's very much like they're Ghost and Death to the Dead, and like I'm by the book and I'm like your mentor and I'm going to keep you in line. Of course, that all shifts around when it's convenient for her and she's not, it's not going to work for her anymore. I thought that was a weird narrative beat. I don't know how much we want to get into spoilers there, but I thought that was something where I was like, wait, that's not working out. Like it was one way when you're alive, then it's one way when you're not so much alive, and so the rules don't apply when it's you. Like I thought that was interesting, but yeah, no, I do want to get your broad ranging thoughts on the gameplay experience and the narrative experience, because I've already kind of talked about it at length on Reforged, so I can definitely add some color commentary. But interested to see what you think about it. How far through it are you?
So, I mean, short answer, I'm not sure how far in. Like I say, I think about 6 hours.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm trying to.
Can you
trying
tell
to
me, like in
think
broad
of what.
strokes, like what part you're at?
So I have just decided the fate of the third lot of people. I'm trying to be. I'm trying to be sort of non-spoilery.
A blacksmith was involved, maybe, in that quest.
So it's when. I don't think this is particularly spoilery, but it's just after you go out to hunt the beast.
Oh, okay. So the sisters.
Mm-hmm.
The sisters. Which that was actually, that whole gameplay segment was like previewable at Gamescom, I think, or somewhere.
Oh, it's not spoilery then. That's fine then.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a deal with like two sisters, and it's a
perfect thick skin and Kate.
Yeah, it's a perfect example of like when these characters. So one thing about this game, as part of the premise, that I didn't really get like before I got hands on it was, so I don't know how much you want to get into this, but this game is some people might call it a spiritual successor. I would just call it a successor, or like the next game to Vampire or
Mm-hmm.
Vampire, however you want to pronounce it, which was a game that had signature don't nod flourish to it because it did some really cool stuff with the systems. It kind of reminded me of how unique the Shadow of Mordor games were,
Yes.
with kind of using a system that nobody's used before. But what it did was it took these NPCs and then you figured out things about their life and their backstory and who they were endeared to, who was important to them in the community and stuff. And you figured out like what their motivations were and all that. And by doing that, it actually like unlocked them as like it was sort of like XP based, but you actually had
Yes.
to like sacrifice them because you're a vampire to actually collect on all that experience from like getting to know them. So like it did this weird heel turn where it was like, yeah, it's the normal thing of like you're progressing a quest with somebody and you're figuring out more about their life and their backstory and like whatever. Also, if you want to collect on all that, you have to eat them.
Mm-hmm.
And then that had like consequences across their social circles and their communities, so much so that like you could actually like, if people were best friends or husband and wife or lovers or whatever, if you ate or fed on one of them, like the other one might actually turn into a beast or something that you might have to fight in like a world boss, mini boss fight later. And so like they had like these interesting things dealing with like ramifications and also like choices and like push and pull and give and take with those NPCs and like actually making them a source of XP. And like it's tough to choose because like if you play that game on the hardest difficulty, you are going to need to feed on people because it's almost like a Souls like at that point, and you can't just like
Mm-hmm.
not level up. Like, and the stories and the quests that you're doing are not giving you enough XP, so you will have to feed on somebody at some point if you're playing on the hardest difficulty. And so that was like a conflict. Like, who do I feed on to get stronger so that I can progress through the game because I've got to be able to level up with this XP. And this game takes that gameplay benefit out of the sacrificing that you're doing because you're choosing in each one of these scenarios that you're talking about. You said you're 6 hours in and you're on like the third one or whatever because they take a while, but you're doing like a
Mm-hmm.
almost Sherlock Holmes type of investigation. And then at the end of the investigation, you figure out like essentially every scenario is a ghost is haunting somebody. Like they haven't left the mortal plane yet. They're still hanging around as a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
And in haunting somebody, it's creating a problem. And so you investigate, okay, why is this ghost hanging around and haunting them? And then I've got to make a determination as like the arbiter of, truth and getting to decide what happens for whatever reason because I'm a banisher and that's how this works, I guess, in this weird world. I get to either say, okay, you're a bad ghost and you did bad things and you're hanging around for bad reasons. I'm gonna banish you to oblivion. Like get the heck out of here, you ghost. Or like I empathize with you. I understand why you like don't have closure. I'm gonna give you that closure. I'm gonna resolve this, and then I'm gonna help you like ascend and be at peace and go on to heaven, basically. And then the third thing is, oh, this ghost is actually around because you who are alive are actually a crap person and they don't have closure because you and the terrible things that you did, like you might have murdered them or whatever. Um, I'm gonna do something which is called blame you for the haunting, and that actually means I'm gonna take your life force out of you and kill you. With the whole purpose of that being that you get to save your partner Antea by collecting enough of this life force. And the initial problem that I had with that premise was like, well, in Vampire, I'm like a vampire and I'm a good person. There was this really interesting narrative dynamic of like, he's like the leading doctor, like scholar, authority, medical authority on like blood transfusion techniques. So like he's like actually a medical genius and a
Mm-hmm.
professional, but also he's this horrible vampire guy that has to like eat people. So like that was a very interesting, like it's direct, like in the same area of study. Like he's like also the
Yeah.
worst thing and the best thing possible. So that was like a really cool narrative conflict there. And then you had the gameplay conflict of like, I've got to feed on people to get stronger, to progress through the game, to be able to not get just absolutely trampled by these enemies. What am I going to do? And in this case, it's like, oh, it's just that I have to, I mean, we can spoil this, right? It's in the trailers. I have to bring back my dead wife, I guess, by killing people, or I could just not do that because she's dead. and dead people are dead, and I could just not be an evil person and bring her back. And I was just like, I'm not seeing a lot of conflict here. Like, I'm not feeling really compelled by the premise to bring her back. So at the very early on in the game, and I don't know what the ramifications for this are, and I guess you don't either, you swear an oath to her of, am I going to bring you back, or am I going to give you peace and help you get to heaven, basically. And that's like after hour 2 or 3, right?
Yeah.
So it seems like they're like kind of pinning you down, because like I
Yeah.
chose ascend her to heaven. Which one did you choose?
I chose to try and revive her.
Okay, so
but again, I don't know. Like
right.
yourself, I'm
but
like,
they're pinning you down,
am I now
right?
pinned down? Or are they? Like,
Well, I
because
bet if you pick one and you do the other one, there's a different ending than if you picked it and you do it. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like there's going to be, you picked resurrect her and you did it. You picked send her to heaven and you did it, or you picked resurrect her, you ended up doing the other one, or you picked send her to heaven and you ended up bringing her back. I bet there's 4 different endings in that regard, and there's probably even more depending on your choices throughout the game. But I bet there's like a, you swore like that you weren't going to bring me back because it was the right thing to not do that, and then you killed all these people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I bet there's like layers and intrigue there, and so they pin you down like really early. Like, you swear an oath. Like, that's how they frame it. You swear to her, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to kill people. We're going to ascend you. And then, so that's what I did, different from you, because I was like, why would I kill people, go against everything that like apparently my credo and like my banisher, training and all that says, why would I go against all that just because, oh, my partner died, so now it's convenient for me to like abandon all that and like kill people to bring her back? I'm very much a like, like one person versus the masses type of thing. Like, I don't see why I should bring my partner back if like a bunch of other people have to die. And then you get involved in these stories, and these are just like the most despicable people that have done like the worst things. You're like, hold on, wait a minute, I might want to start taking some of you guys out. Like,
yeah,
I don't think the ghost is in the wrong here. Like, you guys kind of messed up. Like, you were responsible for like a bunch of death and despair and whatever. So that was kind of an interesting twist for me, as I was like, why would I like go and just kill innocent people? And the answer is like, they're not that innocent, like at all. Like, there's some like everybody,
real badness.
Yeah, everybody in this game is like doing some dark, depressing stuff, and you're just like, what do you want me to do with this game? Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to pick. And I just think that's like such a cool overlay on a game which like really amounts to kind of like almost like Souls adjacent, but really closer to like God of War type of combat. Like, even to the point of like, you go up to this thing and it's like, all right, you're gonna activate a wave of enemies as like a mini fight here at this like, shrine thing. All right, here we go, here come the ghosts. Like, it's very God of War in that aspect. Or like, oh, there's a chest over there if you can figure out how to get up that rock and cross that bridge. I wonder how you do that. Like, it's very much like the God of War type of exploration. And like, there's even like RPG, like Witcher and God of War type elements of like, you find gear and then you're like, oh, I really like this. It's not really stats, but I guess like the buff that the gear offers. Like, I found a sword that gives me health back in fights. Like, if I kill an enemy, and I'm like, that's invaluable. So I just was like, pump that up, make that gold rarity, like make that as high as possible, because I definitely want to be using that. And so like, I feel like that's a RPG pull there. And so like, there's so many systems being involved in this game, so it's not just like a linear narrative game where like, I go here, I talk to these people, oh, now I gotta fight some dudes, all right, now we gotta go further down the golden path. Like, it's very much like, there's exploration here if you want to 100% the map, there's boss fights here, there's I found a secret boss lair that I had to like find on the edge of the map already, like 20 hours in. So there's like a level of like depth here and stuff. The enemy variety not so great. Like, you're only 6 hours in. Let me tell you, when you're 12 hours in, it's going to kind of feel the same as when you're 6 hours in.
I'm feeling that just now.
Yeah. But like the core combat, I mean, would you say it's like pretty good? There's a little bit of jank.
Yeah.
I think it's really fun. I find that it's the most fun when I play like really aggressively.
Yes.
Especially with all that gear that like gives me health back and stuff, like it feels a little bit like Bloodborne. Like I just get in there and I'm just chopping dudes. Like I'm just getting in there and like I'm really kind of just throwing caution to the wind, because the more I hang back, the more it feels like kind of frustrating. I'm just getting mauled by like wolves and stuff, and it really doesn't pay to kind of be cautious and do like the Dark Souls thing of like, all right, I'm gonna hit and then like get out, like whatever. Like I need to get in there, and if there's 5 enemies, I need to take 2 of them out like within 5 seconds, or I'm just gonna get mauled. And so it feels really good to like level up abilities. You get up to like 4 skill trees as you progress through the game. You probably like only unlock 2. I've got 4
Just
now.
the third one.
So there's a lot of depth in terms of the skills and abilities, and you can put those to good use in the combat. The combat doesn't feel too good in like hour 1 or 2. Like there's not a lot on offer.
Quite
There's
basic.
not a lot of depth. Yeah, and you get kind of frustrated because you're like, what am I supposed to do with like 7 enemies, and that guy over there's got ranged attacks, so just I'm just getting hit, and then here's a wolf and he comes up and hits it. Like it's kind of frustrating in that regard, especially playing on a harder difficulty, which I should say, there's like even like a story casual difficulty for people that just want to experience the story. So this game has some good accessibility, but for people who want to play this like a Souls or like more challenging, there is depth there, and I'm having a lot of fun. Just like I just go in and whirl my sword around and like take 2 guys out, and then like I'm about to take a bunch of damage. I can tell like this, it's got the indicator of like the red indicator that you're about to get
white or red.
So I go into Antea because she's like a hologram or a ghost, right? So then I'm just like, I'll just take that damage, like whatever. I'm just tanking it, whatever. And then like I take out another guy, and now that I'm not getting hit, I go back to red so that I can do more damage. I feel like red does more damage, and so it's like strategically like switching into her so that I don't take damage. Like I'm not even really using the dodge so much as I'm switching between the characters to just eat damage, because her health bar is like rechargeable. Like her health bar is like kind of dispensable. So I kind of just let her health bar get eaten to take damage so that I could deal damage as red. And like that loop is like so satisfying when I just feel like a force. Like I'm just aggressively getting in there. His combat animations are like kind of cool too. Like the more aggressive that you play.
I really like the if you're doing the sprint and then you do a heavy attack,
like,
it does a really nice. It deals a lot of damage to start.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like the animations are cool. He really whirls around like it's kind of like that Geralt Witcher kind of combat where you're like whirling around with the sword. And I think that's a nice touch too. Like they don't really get into this explaining this like from a lore perspective, but he fights with a sword and like it seems like a mechanical torch type thing. Like it seems like it's like made out of like iron or something, and he like presses a button to like light it or something, like it's got like an ignite feature to it.
Because he puts it down quite a lot.
Yeah, it seems like when he like gets into combat, he's like whirling around because he's got to like hit them with the fire, I guess, to like make them vulnerable so that he can like vanquish them with the sword. That's what it looks like, at least, is that the fire is somehow making the ghosts like compatible in some way, so they're not just like spectral forms. And so he's like whirling around like, okay, I'm hitting you with the fire and then I'm slashing you, and so that like kind of looks like a dance, like in a way, and it's very fluid actually. When you're just like, I'm getting in there and fighting, like I'm just gonna, like I don't care, I'm just gonna attack you. If you kind of hang back, you're like, okay, I gotta heal, like, oh, I just got hit again. It starts to get frustrating, it starts to feel janky. So I definitely kind of just throw myself into combat, and like all my abilities and my gear is like centered around that, and that does make it feel very good. But like this is definitely like a mileage will vary type of game as far as combat goes.
I think like you say as well, that was very similar with, again, like yourself, is it Vampire or is it Vampire? I loved that game. Absolutely loved it.
It's so good. So underrated. This one too.
Yeah, one of the most underrated PlayStation 4 games, and it's interesting to see the evolution and what they've taken from it, because obviously with Vampire, when it first came out, you had that stamina gauge as well in the combat, but then they did update the game where you could remove that, and I believe at the end you could remove combat altogether because some people just didn't like it. There was a mode where it was like passive mode or something. I played through it a couple of times, but got the platinum.
Might have that because there's like 6 difficulties, and one of them is like story or something. So maybe I didn't try it, but it might have that.
Yeah, I did wonder that if it was, because that was one of the I personally really liked the combat in Vampire, but I know that some people were put off by it, so they did in an update.
like compared to
Oh
Souls,
yeah,
a little
definitely,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's still good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it took a wee bit to get used to. I felt I don't usually play Souls games, so probably more so for me than some. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. And like yourself, like I don't know, I felt in Vampire, everything you did had an impact on the world.
World State,
Like you
yeah.
said,
Yeah,
yeah,
like
and
you
I
like places would get more run down and like there'd be like werewolves and
uh-huh.
stuff there because like you were eating people and like it was getting worse
Hmm.
there. And yeah, I had a situation did you get to the one with the spy, the French spy yet? You
Yeah.
would have, yeah, I think.
And sorry, in
Banishers, in
Banishers.
Banishers, yeah, yeah. There's a French spy, and
Mm,
she's getting haunted by her husband for various reasons. I won't spoil that, but she's
no, I don't
masquerading
think I
as
have
like
yet. No,
a British colonist, basically,
no,
but
no, I
she's
haven't yet.
actually French. And so
Okay.
I just made the decision of like, you're a spy, you're bad. Like, I don't
Hmm.
think you should be a part of this community. So I did blame her. So she was the first person that I actually killed, and lo and behold, like I was like wandering around, and I guess I like came upon her grave, and then in the same fashion as like Vampire, her husband like came up from around the grave and was like, "Ah, you killed my wife!" And he like attacked me, like he's like a boss now. And like Vampire was like
Right?
that too. Like people like turned into werewolves and stuff if you like ate their husband or their wife or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
and just like cool world state stuff like that. So it's cool to see that like carried over. Like there seems to be more of a focus here on like fleshing out kind of like a God of War map
Yes.
for you to explore, and I appreciate that a lot more. Like I think that that's cooler than like you go through like the same dock and like the same like burrow
Hmm.
in Vampire like 8 times, and you're just like, I just want to get to the other side of the map to like talk to these
Yeah.
people and like whatever. And this doesn't feel like that at all, because there's always like, oh yeah, I forgot there is like a breakable wall there that I've got to like get an ability to like go
Hmm.
behind that to figure out like what's over there. Maybe there's a chest back there or something. Like there's always stuff that you're noticing and you're like, oh, let me make a mental note to like come back here and explore that, or like I wonder what's down there. It looks like I can get down there somehow. So I like the attention on that. Donnie's
Yeah.
looking at us like, we have talked way too long about this one game. It's
Yeah.
really good. It's yeah.
Yeah.
To put a pin in it, like your audience should check it out. I think especially the representation is really really cool. I think it's rare that you see just a bona fide Scottish protagonist, and he's cool as hell. Like he's
Oh, very
suave, he's
much.
awesome. Like yeah, he's so likable too. Like he has no like bad characteristics whatsoever. He's just a likable guy, and like yeah, he's got that muscular
It's
like
just Scottish people all
yeah,
over, mate. That's what it is.
muscular
Average.
It's
sexy dad
accurate.
energy. That's
That's
yeah
exactly it. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
accurate as well.
Yeah. I think, see, just going back, like the reason that I chose the sort of oath that I chose, it wasn't because like I don't know, like you said, I think Red is much stronger a character than Antea,
Yeah.
and I didn't choose to resurrect her because of the bond between that I was feeling towards her. It was more you make that choice just after you sort of wrap up your first
Yeah.
decision,
Mhm.
and I was like, if this is what the level
See,
of
you had
people are
the
going to be
insight.
like,
You were like, if
yeah,
people are like this crappy to each other,
yes,
I'm killing them all. And I was
yeah,
like, I don't know. I have faith in humanity. You're like, absolutely not. No
yeah, because
shot. That's
that
funny.
first guy, I was like, you
Yeah.
are dying for what you've done, and I thought if this is, if this means if everyone's going to be like this in the world, they're all getting it.
Nice. That's great. I love it.
Nice.
But yeah, obviously, I'm really excited to see how it pans out. Like, I'm a big fan of Don't Nod in general. Like, I really like their storytelling.
Absolutely.
And I would say so far, with how far I'm in, I think the storytelling was slightly stronger in Vampire, but I'm
Yeah, I would
not
agree.
that far. But I'm not that far in, and I do definitely think, although the combat isn't the most intricate, I think they've obviously put a lot of work into the combat because, and like you say, God of War style, the God of War influence is all over the
Very
place.
prevalent.
Yeah, and so I feel like they know that the story elements, the beats are their bread and butter, and so they've been like, right, we need to sort of nail over here the world, the
Yeah.
sort of shortcomings that Vampire had, and if they can sort of shore that up while delivering on everything else, and so far, I'm really, really enjoying it.
Yeah, I
Really, really
think I
enjoying it.
really appreciate that trade-off, because like Vampire exists and I did play it. I actually played it last year. So I like coming fresh off of that, I was like, let's go. Like I didn't realize this was
Mm.
that studio. I'm psyched. And yeah, like I think I like having played Vampire, getting that trade-off in this one, getting closer to a sort of pseudo AAA type of experience, a big open world to explore, good fleshed out combat, good RPG light mechanics. Like, I like that. I would rather have all that than just get another Vampire. As much as I liked Vampire, like, great, we're evolving. It's a different game. I like that. Give me new enjoyable experiences. Evolve on that formula. Just before we move on, the visuals and the sound design, like when you're out in the wilderness, amazing. Like, blowing me away for a AA game. You can hear the birds in the trees, the wind. You look out over the landscape, the sun rays coming in breaching through the pines, like, looks amazing. It's such a relaxing game when you're not doing any of the linear stuff. Like, I've been just clearing the map because like 2 hours will just go by and I'm so relaxed just checking stuff out. It sounds like we both recommend this one to the audience, and it's even like $50 I think on PC. So it's not, they're not trying to break your bank either. But yeah, fantastic game. Really impressed with it.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, you have convinced me to check it out down the line. That's for sure. When there's a quiet period in gaming, man. So and I think it's sitting about. Yeah. I think it's sitting with about an 83. Is it, give or take? So it's reviewing well
high,
as well.
I would be happy. When I looked, it was.
Yeah, I'm sure I saw it was 83.
Because Vampire's like 73, and it was around 74 when I looked like launch week. So hopefully it is.
I think it's up to 80 now. Yeah, it's up to 80 now.
Craig, you better give it a 90 so you can shove it up there. I gave it a 9. I think it deserves a 9. I really do. I think it deserves a 9. It's one of the top 3 games I played this year. Yeah, I would say Tekken 8 is a little bit more quality, but that's like a fighting game. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
I haven't played Infinite Wealth, but like that's a dope, amazing game. I think maybe we're gonna talk about that. But yeah, man, like, this is up there, like, and it should, like, kind of shouldn't be, like, it's a little underdog Cinderella dark horse type of game, and it's I hope it gets a lot more attention. I hope it sells, like, I hope it sells so they can go make another game, because I want more from this studio. I really do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, then you've mentioned Infinite Wealth, Craig. You've been playing it. Tell us about your last sort of week with it before Kirk you jump onto Inculinati, which I don't know too much about. I mean, I have to say, I got Pentiment vibes from it, but that was about it. So yeah, you can talk about that soon. So yeah, Craig.
I'm just still stuck on this goddamn island, honestly. Halfway through, it's not a bad thing. It's good. It's really good. But halfway through the story, so I'm chapter 6, and that's when you get ferried off to the Animal Crossing island. And
they won't let you leave?
Oh no, they will let me leave now. There's maybe like a half an hour period where you have to stay and get the basics, and then after that they're like, you can leave. But by that point they've hook, line, and sinkered you in, and then you're like, I need to go and catch 3 fish. So
You're not leaving until it's a 5-star.
I'm up at 3 stars now. Nice. I was saying to Donnie earlier. So I don't know if this is intentional, but what they do is you get a house, and it's on one side of the island, and if you want to leave to go back to Hawaii so that you can continue the story, that's on the other side of the island. And so the last 3 times I've put the game on, I've thought, I'm out of here, I'm done, I've got you up to 3 stars, you're on your own, we'll see how this goes. And en route to leaving the island, there's always something that just catches your eye, and I'll just go over there and I'll grab that. Oh, this person needs this. They need 3 fish for this. And then you just end up stuck. Like, it's the most over the top nonsense. Like, I mean, as Like a Dragon tends to be. Yeah. Like, there's just random pirates running about, and they interfere with your guests. So you'll be planning to leave the island, and then you'll see a couple of pirates sneaking in, and you just, I'm going to have to deal with them. And then you get caught up, and then half an hour passes, you still haven't left the island. And that's been my experience the last 3 times I've put it on. Which I do, don't get me wrong, I do want to get the platinum, so I do need to get it to 5 stars, but at the same point, I want to push on with the story, because the story is really, really good.
Dude, I think
everything about the game, to be honest, is really good.
Like, the first one with Ichiban is like one of the best stories in games I've ever experienced in my life. Like,
see, I never played that. I'm gonna have to go back.
What?
It's superb.
Never played it.
Superb.
What?
Never played it.
So are you like doing the review for the site, or are you just a crazy person? Like, what?
Up until a year ago, he hadn't played turn-based.
my first Yakuza game was The Man Who Erased His Name. And then I thought I'll jump into this.
Stop it! No, Craig. By the way, Americans say Craig wrong. It's clearly spelled.
Oh yeah, we know.
It's
we know.
Spelled Craig.
It came up.
It's not Creg. Craig.
Yeah.
But I will say Craig, so because
I've responded to us.
Yeah. But yeah, no.
From me.
I always think of Matt Smith in Doctor Who. He says it really weird. He's like Craig. Like he says it really elongated. It makes me laugh. But yeah, no, he's like more right than. And isn't that character James Corden? I think James Corden is Craig in Doctor Who. Anyway, weird tangent.
That's upsetting.
Sorry. Yeah.
We don't like him.
That's really upsetting.
Oh, he's a turncoat, I guess.
Yeah, he's an asshole.
Stop it. Stay on the island. Stop it. You're not allowed to finish that game. Stay on the island. Go play Like a Dragon, because the sheer amount of depth and payoff and like narrative of this story, like you don't know who Arakawa-san is, like you don't know the hard forged bond of friendship and loyalty that Ichiban has with like his best friends and companions, Adachi-san and Namba-san. Like you've got to go experience that. Like you're at a perfect pause, you're stuck on this island, bro. You got to stop playing this game and go play the first Like a Dragon, figure out what the humble beginnings of these characters are and like these relationships and this very deep story and like his patriarchal father figure, like his influence on him, but then he like betrays him, but then he didn't actually betray him. Like he just did what he had to. Dude, it's so deep. The narrative is so fulfilling and engaging, and like it's going to bring so much more depth and nuance to you experiencing Infinite Wealth. Like that's why I haven't played Infinite Wealth yet, is because I know I've got to play Gaiden first, and I'm trying to work on that Like a Dragon, the first one, Platinum. I'm playing through it the second time now, and then I've got to go do the stupid Millennium Tower or whatever. But oh my god, dude, you've got to go play the first one first. I swear. Somebody else, who was I listening to? I think it was on the MinMax show. It was the same discussion between two of the girls that are on there. I want to say it was like Sarah Paz and Haley McLean. And one of them was telling the other one, like, no, it was Haley McLean and Kelsey Lewin, just to give their shout outs. One of them was telling the other one, like, no, if you're like not more than 20 hours in, you've got to stop and like go play the first one, because like you're still savable and you can have those moments in that payoff if you go play the first one. So stop it. Don't play any more of that game. Go play the first one. It's just as good. It's so good. It didn't get the love that this one did just because, I don't know, people just weren't ready for it, or they were just like, oh, it's just another Yakuza game, or like what? But like that story in the first game is probably one of the most best and affecting stories I've ever experienced. So I can't imagine that wouldn't inform and bring depth and payoff to the story that you're experiencing now. And like the whole thing with like him finding his mom, like the reason that's important is because in the first game you think his mom died because she got a hit put out on her and she had to hide Ichiban in a locker to save his life. So the fact that she's alive is like this whole thing of like, oh crap, we're gonna go find his mom, and like that's like there's already stakes to that if you played the first game, and like you're missing that, and I hate that for you. So stay on your stupid island, go play that first game, because just those games combined, I think I cannot wait to play Infinite Wealth, because I think that's going to be like one of the most rewarding, fulfilling, compelling narrative journeys that I'll ever go on in video games. So I definitely played the first game in like November, December to get ready for Infinite Wealth, and then just with the review season, I just haven't had time.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, what I would say is like I mean, again, these kind of games just were not my sort of thing. I'm not a big turn-based guy either. I decided to jump in after. So when you complete Like a Dragon, The Man Who Erased His Name, you unlock a demo for Infinite Wealth. And so I played a little bit of that. Was like, combat's not bad. It's all right. I really liked the island. I really liked the aesthetic of it. It just, like, when I played The Man Who Erased His Name, I did really like the world, but there was something just with the colour pop from Hawaii that just made me, I don't know, it just made me want to jump in. What I would say is, in terms of what you're saying about the story, not that I don't think I would get more from playing Like a Dragon, but they go over all that stuff in so much depth. Like the one negative maybe I would have about Infinite Wealth so far is that it just the sort of supposition just doesn't stop. It's just
It keeps treading
like,
old paths for sure.
oh
It's
my god,
so
like
much fan
that whole
service and
thing.
like
That whole thing you said about him being left in a locker, like
yeah.
there's half an hour
They're
dedicated
like,
to that.
just so you know.
Yeah. Oh,
Just
there's
so
like
you know, this definitely happened. Like if you weren't there,
oh man,
you gotta get a
I
load of this.
felt
I
like I
can
was
totally
there.
see it doing that. Yeah.
I felt like I was there. Like honestly, it was like a half, and it's not even an optional recap. It's like a half an
That's
hour
so funny.
here. Like he just turns to someone and starts telling them what happened.
I feel like me and Donnie
it's
are
the
just
whole
like
thing again.
internally cracking up because like we know like in the first game there's like a 20-minute story arc that's just centered around Peking duck and like going to get Peking duck, and then Ichiban's really mad that they can't have Peking duck when they finally get there, and like there's like this whole backstory behind like it's George Takei and he's like, yes, the last time I was here, my father died, or like whatever. And then like he like tells that story, and then that's another 20-minute thing. And I'm just like, I'm just there for it, dude. Like I'm like, oh, what? Like, you know, I'm just a sucker for that stuff. Like like you said, the Animal Crossing style like island stuff is getting you hook, line, and sinker. Like I'm there for the like I stand Arakawa-san, like that's my dude, you know, like they get you in with that narrative, and like Ichiban's my boy. I really gotta play. I played the first Yakuza to get ready for this, and I really gotta play Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name, because like I'm not really on board with Kiryu yet. Like the first game kind of did endear me to him a little bit, but like I was a little bit disappointed that they didn't just focus on Ichiban for this one. Like it's like you did a reboot and now you're kind of not doing a reboot, and I gotta know what happened in like 7 other games now. That's not really a reboot if you do that, and so
There's a little bit of that here as well.
It's a little bit annoying, but like I think I'm just like, you know what? Like a Dragon was so good, and everybody says that these games are so good. I think with Like a Dragon, it is taking a turn for more narrative approach, more character development. Like they're evolving that formula, kind of like we were talking about with Banishers as well. Like these studios are getting better and better at what they do. And like whereas Yakuza started with like 1 and 2 as like a beat 'em up brawler with some pretty impressive, captivating story around that as like a shell, I think they've leveled up their storytelling to just the best of the best, top-notch stuff with the latest couple of entries. And so like I trust them. I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna invest in Kiryu as a character. I'm gonna learn more about him, and then you're gonna give me payoff for that investment. I think that's what's gonna happen with Infinite Wealth. So I'm gonna try to learn a little bit more about that character. I'll probably just do, like I said, I did the first game because I played the English dub of that, and then I'll play The Man Who Erased His Name because that's also in English. And then I finished the original Like a Dragon already, and then I'll play Infinite Wealth. And then at that point, when I finish that story, I feel like I'm going to go all the way through like 0 to 6 Song of Life or whatever, because I just think they're so
I'm honestly
good.
considering that as well now.
So good at storytelling and character development and everything. And like, I just want to live in that world, man. Like it's so goofy and wacky, but like so authentic and real at like the same time. Like you identify with these people, like, and like their trials and tribulations, man. There's no other franchise quite like Yakuza. Like it gets compared to GTA, and I think that's a disservice. Like it's like a combination of like GTA with like this weird, very Japaneseified layer of like Sony first party storytelling, like that level of like polish and like intrigue and like engaging storytelling. And yeah, man, there's nothing like those games out there, and that's why Sega's killing it with these games. I'm so glad to see them finally get all the attention and excitement they deserve with Infinite Wealth. Can't wait to jump in. Glad you're enjoying it. There's a review up on the site, right? On Pure Dead?
Yes. Yep. It's interesting that you say that. There's so much, like I feel like it's a total sort of culture shift for me playing this game, and there's so many, like you were saying about the Peking duck story, there's so many stories that just like it'll go off on a tangent for half an hour, and at the end of it I'm like, what the hell was even the point in that? But I loved it, and it's adding layers to the world. It's so interesting. Like there's not
like
a Western game.
Yeah.
No, and there's not a Western game that would go to that level. If you know what I mean. Like that would be like and yeah, I don't want to ruin any of the stories, but there's multiple times where they've went off in like a 30-40 minute tangent, and then a character leaves, never comes back, and you're like, what was that?
And then they end up
Oh,
coming back, and you're like, what? This
well,
guy again? You know, or like
that's the
whatever.
thing, yeah.
It's so great.
I like the fact that you guys are kidding yourselves. You're going to go and play 600 hours of gaming in between everything else and run through the whole series
Yeah.
again. It's nice that you say it.
Oh
But,
no,
you
this
know.
is I would love to do that.
It's
And
a
I gotta
long-term
play it at
plan.
some point. I mean, I don't know.
This is a long-term gain. I like
Yeah.
it. I like it.
Yeah,
the
I
only
don't
way it's
know.
happening is if gaming takes an absolute dip, because at the moment you're struggling to try and stay afloat, let alone go back. Like I've got a backlog that I could stand on and touch heaven. But and I'm always, there's so many games that I just go, I know, like the Yakuza games, I always knew that I would like them if I got into them, but it's finding that time. Like, been doing the website and stuff like that for like 6 years now, and there's so many games come out that you're like, just turn your head. Like, you're not even necessarily on your radar, and then like, I don't know, someone will come to you and be like, oh, do you want a code for this game? And I'll try it out, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this game's excellent, and it wasn't even 2 weeks ago you didn't even know it existed. And that's the world that we live in just now, where it's just, I mean, how often do you go a month without there being a really good game coming out? It just doesn't happen these days,
No.
Yeah.
and it's so hard to find time to go back.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Speaking of really good games, Inkulati.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Tell us about it.
A lot of people don't know about. By the way,
Pentiment Rabbits. Pentiment Rabbits.
So look, yes, Pentiment has an art style that is evocative of medieval manuscripts. Okay, they don't
Yes.
have a domain claim on that. Okay, like just because it's hard to pronounce the name of this game does not make it Pentiment, 2 or whatever. It's its own thing, and I hate that it's just kind of like, oh, it's the game that looks like Pentiment. Like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, whatever. I think Inkulinati might have even come out first because it's been in it's not called early access. It is early access, but like the game preview Xbox Game Pass thing that Power World is in or whatever right now. So it's officially called game preview, whatever that means.
It was round about the same time, I'm sure.
Yeah. But yeah, a little bit of spicy drama. It is a Xbox exclusive that's going multi-platform. It's going to PlayStation and Nintendo. So get your pitchforks ready, Xbox gamers. No, but I got my code. So the full release is the 22nd, which is Thursday, right? I think Thursday.
Yeah.
And I got my code of the full game for Switch. And that's sort of what put me onto this, because I saw the gameplay when I looked at it for Game Pass, because just aesthetically it's gorgeous. For the video, I'll probably maybe put some up in the background. But yeah, it's like a turn-based 2D strategy game with like platforms. I wouldn't call it a platformer, but there's platforms that you kind of have to navigate to get close to your enemies. Really, the only thing that I've really played like this, and I'm sure there's other games in this genre that I'm just not a well-versed gamer enough to have other comparisons, but it reminds me of like the old Worms World party games where you had to like kind of get in position to like shoot your rockets at the other worm, or like whatever. Like you have to sort of move across this 2D plane to get in position to do the attack. South Park, the Fractured Butthole, did something kind of similar to that, but this is very much more, it looks like a side scroller kind of, but it's turn based, and the aesthetic is immediately catches your attention because it is in that medieval manuscript style that you see in like old religious texts and stuff from like, I don't even know, like the 1300s, 1200s, and onward from there. Type of stuff that you would see like in like the period of time where they would sell you the bones, the relics of like some saint or whatever, so you could carry that around in your pocket if you were a sinner, and that would like somehow absolve you or something, like weird stuff going on in the church. But there was some good art coming out that was on kind of the margins of their texts, and also something that was pretty contextual from that period is like if on a text it said like a long time ago, like the A for a long time ago would be like adorned with all this like ornate bordering and stuff. So a lot of like very artistic sort of work being done, and there were like these little caricatures of like priests and saints and entities of a sort that were adorned in the margins of that. And this is what that is what this game is evoking with its art style, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So when I was first looking at the game and I figured out it's only on Xbox, because I'm a console gamer only, I'm not one of those gross PC master race people.
Nah. Fuck them.
So I saw
they don't even sleep in beds.
they just sleep in their gamer chairs, right?
Yeah. Or couches.
So I saw that it was really only available on Xbox. So I was like, this feels like a game I want to play handheld. Like I was like, surely this is going to come to Switch, and now it is. And thank you to Terminals, which is a co-distribution site, and Yaza Games, which is the developer of this, for getting me a early review code copy of this, so that I could play it on Switch, play the full release on Switch. Which, by the way, if you're on Xbox, and this is before Thursday, February 22nd, which it won't be likely that that many people, I don't know, whatever. If it's before Thursday, February 26th, you don't have the full game on Xbox yet. And I guess you don't have the full game anywhere yet. But it will be the game preview version until Thursday on Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
So don't go into that thinking, oh, this is a full game, because it's not. But I think the full game will still be on Game Pass, so you'll be able to play it there. But I would definitely recommend picking this up on Switch, because I think it's a pre-order $5 off thing for $20. And oh boy, is it worth every penny of that, because I had so much fun with this. Again, it's gorgeous. I can't imagine. I don't have an OLED, but I can't imagine how amazing and satisfying this would look playing this on an OLED, because, again, the art style is just fabulous, like fantastic. It is just absolutely a treat to look at. And the animations are really good, too. Like, this is 60 frames, and the characters are very emotive, very animated. Like, they're sort of dancing around, like doing a little whatever and making little sound effects and stuff. They're farting on each other and stuff. Like, it's really like goofy. And there's like different classes for like your units. So essentially what you're doing is you're starting like this is a roguelite. Roguelite. I think it's a roguelike.
I never know. I don't remember the difference.
I think a roguelite is a lighter version of a roguelike. But they sound way too similar. So this is a roguelike, in the same vein as, I'll just rifle some stuff off, as Hades or Other Side. A little more similar to Other Side if you played that one. That was a little more of a deep cut. This is a campaign where you start out with like your forces. It's kind of tactical, and you're going along like this sort of map, which is really just like, I don't know, icons that you click on, and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this encounter. And then you go in and you do a battle. And so you start out with like your army. It's almost like Warhammer kind of, I guess, where there's like these factions, where there's like the rabbit faction and the fox faction and the dog faction. And then later, part of the roguelike element is like, I beat the game. I played through one run of the game to be able to like basically like review it on podcast. I did a review here, and then like for Work the Game in general. But I beat the game once on like one run. I didn't die. But had I not been successful in that campaign, there's like a prestige currency that you get from accomplishing things, and you can actually like neglect to take like more what do you call it, like your full health capacity that you have, or like your gold, or like whatever, like for that run you can say, nah, I'm good, I'm too cool for that, and you can get prestige, and that is the resource or the currency that you can take outside of that one campaign. So you can kind of prioritize, do I think I need to elongate this run and get more full health, or do I need to get prestige because I know like I want to take that with me? So I've just prioritized prestige. I was playing on a lower difficulty. There's like really challenging difficulties. I just wanted to get through the campaign to like experience the whole thing, because we got a lot of games right now. And now I like unlocked like the monkey faction. Like there's a monkey ape army, and like there's like all these different animal factions or whatever, and all the different units are like they kind of go into like archer, sword and shield, spearman, cleric, and then like special, or like there's like a barbarian too, and then like special, like, so I guess like bard, and then like there's some other like more like wild card ones. But there's like this donkey bard character that has bagpipes that he farts into. He plays the bagpipes by like farting, and so he's like like, and he farts into the bagpipes, and it like buffs your whole team or whatever. It's just
The
such
Scottish influence in gaming just now is just amazing.
right.
I know,
Yeah,
what
it's
the hell?
peak Scottish influence. Like it's like, oh, they figured out how we actually play the bagpipes. They're on to us. They're on to us, gents. But yeah, no, it's so funny and goofy, but like it's also definitely a game that like demands your attention. Like you can chuck it down to easy and kind of just like have fun with it, and that's great that they have that accessibility here for you. But like otherwise, like there's some strategy here. Like you can get in some tight situations, and you really got to pay attention. And I will say, like, if there is gameplay behind me for the video, the sort of layout can look kind of intimidating. Like there's all these little icons down at the bottom, and you're like, what's really like going on here? But I started up the tutorial. It's called the Academy, and it was like, here's how you move and stuff like that. I was like, oh, we're not doing this. I don't have time for this. So I was like, let's just get into a run. Like whatever happens. And I was surprised. The onboarding for like, I pretty much had a grasp of it like with my first 2 or 3 encounters. So like I was able to get it, and they sort of add on abilities and mechanics like as you go through a run. And yeah, it was very welcoming. It wasn't super obtuse. Like every time I got an ability, I wasn't like, oh god, another thing I have to like figure out how to use or like learn. It was more like, oh, that's cool. I could see how I could implement that. Like there's some utility there. And so like there's just so much cool stuff like with the archers, like you're using the strategy like, okay, I've got to get in position to where I can shoot them, but they can't shoot me. And then like you're using like the cleric-y, like bard type buff characters, and then like the positioning matters a lot. And then there's even like there's like a meta like fourth wall breaking thing where like basically essentially what the premise is like you are a dude or a gal with a quill, and you're like drawing these Inkulinati or whatever, these little sprite guys or whatever to do battle, and then like somebody else is like with a pen too that's like also doing that. And so what you can do is actually like at the end of every turn, you can actually just like put your hand on the screen, just be like, you F off, like to like one of the enemies or whatever. Like if they're on the edge of the screen, you can just be like, push them off, and they're like, ah, and they like die or whatever. And like you can also like brush off your guy and like get rid of like a status ailment or whatever. So you can like put your hand on the screen, or you can like draw like an obstacle to like get in the way of like your enemies and stuff. So there's like a another layer, like another dimension of it, of like you're actually like the one marionetting, controlling all the strings, or like quite literally like with a quill and ink. And to that end, ink is actually your resource. So in the top left corner, there's like how much ink you have, and it basically amounts to like action points. And you can actually do things that will get you more ink for the next turn, so that you can draw a bunch of troops. Like you can make another archer, another sword guy or whatever to protect your like leader. Like you kind of have like a king piece, which is like your character, and you need to make sure that like they don't fall, or like that'll be the end of your run. Your troops are like more or less expendable in that regard. And so like you're trying to like make sure that you have enough ink as a resource to expend these action points to put troops on the map, and then you tactically like move them around and attack the enemy. And what you really want to do is either clear out the entire enemy, destroy the like source that like the enemies are coming out of. Like there will be kind of like a hive or something. Like I had like one that was a literal beehive, and bees just kept coming out. It was super annoying. But I ended up killing the beehive, and then I just took out the remaining bees and I won. Or there's like another guy. Like there's like it's totally not Yoda. It's definitely not Yoda from Star Wars looking character, that sort of like teaches you the ways of the Inclinati. Like, oh, draw them you must. And like you like take him out first. And then like at the end of the campaign, it's Death, like Death incarnate. He's like a skeleton guy. He's got like a goblet where he's like, like whatever. Like the whole thing is very tongue in cheek. There's like stupid little dialogue that like doesn't matter, but like you're like, screw you, I don't want to learn how to do that. Or like what it's like, you know, or it's like, yes, please teach me your ways, master. Like it's just stupid, like goofy dialogue and stuff. And yeah, like the animations are goofy, the emoting is goofy, but the gameplay is like very actually tactical and strategic based. It's just a great blend of like taking tactics and strategy, turn-based gameplay, which like some can find kind of monotonous or obtuse or a little bit intimidating, and like putting like a sheen of like a beautiful art style on that, and then just like goofy like aesthetics and engaging dialogue and stuff that's just like, it doesn't take itself seriously at all. Clearly the writers here and the makers here like have a good humorous side, like have some good comedic sense. And yeah, it's just a fun time. I give it like a 9 out of 10. It's just a fantastic game. Unfortunately, it has been in that early access, so it's not really hitting as like this is a new release, you know.
Yeah.
But I hope it gets some recognition as like one of the indie darlings of the year. In spite of that, I don't know that it will, but it really deserves its flowers. It's a fantastic game, and it's hard for me to think of like how much better indies could get than this year. So I hope that people play it. And I think it's just the perfect game for the Switch or like the Steam Deck. Like I was playing this in bed. It felt so cozy. It felt so right. And yeah, it's the type of game where I looked up and I was like, oh crap, it's 1 a.m. Like, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I was like, man,
Sign of a good game.
Yeah, I really want to do like one more chapter. Like, gosh, do I have time for it? And then I ended up doing a chapter and beating the game because I was like, nah, man, I gotta finish it. So yeah, it's that type of game. It feels so compelling and engaging to play, and just super props, super shout out to Yaza Games for being able to do this. I hope they make another game that has an equally compelling aesthetic because they've got the gameplay down. I'd love to see what they put out next.
Good. I want to talk about Pacific Drive because Craig, I know you played the demo.
Yes.
Because they wouldn't give you guys a code. I don't know what was up with that.
I was way late, way late. I've been bogged down with that many games and then work. And Donnie, you had messaged saying about Pacific Drive, and I was like, "Yeah, that's coming out soon." And then by the time I messaged them, they went out like a week ago. It's like, cool, no bother. I mean, see, to be honest, like, it was a blessing in disguise because I would have jumped in, but I've got like a bunch of games ongoing at the moment, so. I enjoyed the demo. I mean, obviously, we'll segue into your experience of the full game.
No, I want you to talk first because this is like, oh god, this game is interesting.
Yeah, so I hadn't really followed it much in the preview footage. So when I jumped into the demo,
Same.
I wasn't really aware of what to expect.
What was your idea of what this game was going to be? I'm very curious because I was thinking like more of a like scenic, evocative, reflective, like kind of like Firewatch, but like more ominous, macabre, like maybe a little bit of like neon noir elements, like, and I'm driving and there's like isolation and loneliness, and it's just the voice over the speaker talking to me, and I've got to get from here to there, and I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm driving, and I'm in the Pacific. Like, that was kind of the feeling that I had, and like, that is not what this game is at all.
No, and I also, for some reason, and again, this is on me, I guess, for not looking at the preview footage, I thought you were the car. Like, when you started getting out and moving about, I was like, all right, I didn't realise
like
there was...
Lightning McQueen?
Yeah. I thought it was like a skull and bones on land situation. And, like, I don't know, like, I didn't expect the mechanic elements. I didn't expect... I don't know. It was totally different. It was way more in depth than I was expecting as well. Like, just sort of to start out, and it's like, okay, get into the car, now put it in out of park into drive, turn the key. Like, oh, you need fuel. You need to put your fuel can away in the registered holster. You need to... Like, it was just, now you've got a burst tyre.
Oh, you don't have any room in your inventory. Better move some stuff around.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was as in depth, and like, so for the purposes of the demo, I wanted to play the game as intended, but I did see from the settings that there was quite a lot of accessibility options. So it seemed like they were like, right,
achievements though. They disable.
Do they? Oh, right, okay, right.
Yeah, so you can like make it to where it's not like piss off
the
quality of life level, but then they're like, oh, you're not gonna get trophies though. If you do that,
so I can't do
like,
that.
No,
then
you've got to
can't
suffer
do that
like the rest of us. Yeah.
No, I need the digital trinkets. Like,
exactly.
I've got to have them. But yeah.
So how would you describe this game, like genre-wise? Like, what is it? Like, what type of game is this? Like, what is the loop? Like, what are you doing? Because it's not what we were talking about of like, oh, it's like a walking sim, but you're in a car, and it's like reflective and evocative and like that like very like mystery narrative based. Like, it's not that at all. So like, I want to see how you would describe it, and then I'll get into, obviously I was able to spend a lot more time with it because I have the game in hand.
So from the small amount I played, and again, maybe this won't be representative of the full game, but it seemed almost like scavenging simulator. Like, you're going about and you're trying to scavenge for parts. Like, I spent half an hour repairing a door for, I think it was my passenger side back,
Yeah.
back passenger side door, and I'm like, I don't even care about this door, but it was like half an hour, and I needed so much different equipment to fix this door, and at certain points I was just like, I'll just go without the door, but they wouldn't let you, obviously, because this was sort of the tutorial area. But yeah, it seems more inventory management and yeah, scavenging. The one thing, that threw me the most was when, and again, I don't know if the demo was the exact beginning of the game. I think it was, but I got to a garage and I had to fix up my car, and that's when changed the wheel, and I had to create this door to put on, and then after that, it was like, right, we're going to set off on our journey, and I drove about 300 yards, and then it fast travelled me to the next area. And I don't know. I thought you would be exploring and driving a lot around.
You thought you would drive through the Pacific, right? Like you thought you would like and like it's a long drive and you gotta get there and like, oh, I'm out of fuel. I gotta get. No, it's like Monster Hunter World or something where it's like, all right, you're gonna deploy and then you're just freaking, it's the Starfield thing, right? Of like, I'll go to this planet.
Yes.
Oh, you're there. Oh wow. It's like I'm in a car. Like, why am I not driving the car to the place? Like, oh my god,
that was the bit that completely confused me when I went out.
Like, no way, no.
I just drove forward, and it came out onto a map, and it said, right, where do you want to go? And I was like, oh, I thought I was just setting a waypoint, and I would still drive to that place.
Yeah.
But no, it was like you set the waypoint, and a loading screen, and then it loaded up, and I was there, and I'm like, so is this just a bunch of small hubs?
Yes.
Is that what it is? Yeah. Because I wasn't sure if that was indicative of the full game.
You have your garage hub, and then like they're called zones, and like it shows it like a road that goes from zone to zone, but you don't drive down that zone. You don't drive down that road. Yeah, you just go to the zone, and then you're there. And then
Pacific
like,
fast travel.
Yeah, and then you're not really like like you are driving in the zone, but it's like you drive, like you just like rock up to the like next shack or whatever, and you're like, all right, time to turn the car off, put it in park, turn the car off, because I got to do that every frickin' time. Get out of the car. Oh, what's around here? Oh, there's a locker in here. Oh, I'm gonna take that. Oh, whatever. And then there's a derelict car right there. It's all rusty. Get my buzzsaw out. Oh, I need to get this side too. All right, pick everything up. You don't have room for that. Fuck, okay. All right, I'll go drop this stuff off in the back of my car. All right, go over there. All right, I'll move this over. All right, okay, that's got.
I had health packs just discarded all over the place because I didn't have enough. I was like, I wasn't losing health, but I felt like I needed other stuff, so just health packs flung left, right, and center.
I've got to do the Resident Evil mini game of move this here and then stick that there and like whatever. This one's really big. That looks important. Better find room for that. Whatever. All right, I guess I'll get back in the car now. All right, get back in the drive
100 feet.
Oh, there's another building. I'll park it. Okay, I'm gonna get out. Oh, looks like I can salvage that. Pick all that up off the ground. Like, and I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, what Pacific buzzsaw, like Pacific scavenge, like, you know, like whatever.
So it does just continue like that then? Because I was wondering if the demo wasn't really indicative of the full game.
That is the
but
game.
It sounds like that is so strange.
And there's more. There is a Firewatch type of narrative here, and it gets better. From what I understand, like you didn't get to Cappy, right? Which is like this anomaly in not really the sky. I guess it's like up in the air. Like it's probably like 20 feet in the air, and you like drive off the edge of this like, I guess it's like a bridge, but it's like, you know, it's like an overpass highway, but it's like broken. So you just
I didn't get there.
You just drive off of this overpass highway, and there's like a break in it, like a cliff edge, and you drive into the anomaly. And like there's like some lore and story about that, and the lady that talks to you and the guys that talk to you are like, the lady's telling you to do it, and the guy's like, oh, I don't know, and like whatever, and like, and you do it, and like you survive, and like basically, I guess the lore and the narrative is like all this stuff happened back in the 1960s, which was basically like, I guess the US's version of like a miniature form of like Chernobyl or something. So you've got like this irradiated space where it's kind of like I guess for people that have played Control, like the Bureau of Control has like all those little like it has like that department of like anomaly objects, or like the refrigerator that's alive, or
Yeah.
there was that really interesting sub story where like there's like this guy that like has to keep looking at a refrigerator or a lamp, or I can't remember what it
Yes.
was, and like if he looks away, like it's supposedly gonna eat him, and you think
Such
it's
a weird
fake,
game.
like you're like there's no way this is real, like obviously this guy, and they set it up like with comedic timing too, of like clearly this guy is just like sitting here afraid of nothing, and he's like afraid to blink, and he can't pee, and that's like irony. And like I think you come back later and he's like dead because it did eat
Yeah.
him, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
no way, like, and you're like, this like refrigerator like actually eats people. It kind of feels a little bit like that, like there's this zone with like some weird paranormal phenomenon stuff going on, and you've got these three people like talking to you over the radio that like they're kind of like the weirdo like prepper people that like, you know, maybe go out with a metal detector and like try to find stuff like underground, and like what like they're very fixated kind of nerdy people, and so they've been like studying these readings in this like irradiated area, and they're trying to figure out like what happened in the late 1950s, early 1960s, and they've basically been able to figure out that there are these things called remnants, which are kind of similar to the like whatever in Control they labeled these kind of anomaly type objects, like these weird objects that are like tagged or whatever for study. And these remnants are like, they're objects that manifest in the form of mundane things, but they're really like from another dimension or like universe or something, and they're otherworldly in that regard. And what they do is they form like a bond, or like they latch on to a human being, and then they actually like drive the human being insane or something. Like that's essentially the gist
Okay.
of what I've gotten from playing it and from them talking to me about it over the radio. And so essentially like the main narrative hook of this story is that you've found this car, which it looks like a car, like you find it, you assume it's just been abandoned here or whatever, but it hasn't. It's manifested from this other place. And so it's really like this otherworldly anomaly, and it's come in the form of a car. And so it's lashed itself onto you, and you're sort of bonded to it in a metaphysical type of way. And so it's basically like they're telling you in like an ominous kind of like, hey, don't, not to be a downer or anything, but like all of our research shows that the car is actually going to make you go insane. And I guess it's implied that you might like unalive yourself or something as a result of that. Something bad will happen to you if you don't fix
Okay.
it. And you're also like stuck in this zone for unknown reason. Like I guess it's kind of like a like it's kind of like in movies where there's like a maze or whatever, and like you can't leave or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like that. Like if you just went to the outer bounds of this area, you just get turned around and you just be back in
Mm-hmm.
it somehow. Like you just go in a circle, you'd end up at the same place. So this kind of walled off area, it's almost like a Area 51 or something like that in the Pacific Northwest. You're kind of stuck in there, and so it's like these people that have been researching it, that are like overly obsessed with it and have some sort of history with it, are guiding you and directing you and giving you their perspective and their backstory on what's going on. And they're like, maybe we can help you. Like maybe you can be the first one to break this cycle. You can break the sort of latch on bond that this thing has on you, and you'll be able to get out. And somehow that involves like making a better car. Like I don't know, like I don't really know how that goes back into the gameplay loop, but I will say that like the narrative, even if it's not directly connected to the gameplay, is compelling enough that maybe I want to, like you want to find out more as you're playing along. But
That was the one thing I was thinking during the demo
yeah.
was I feel like this game is going to be make or break based on the narrative,
So I will
because it's
say
going to have
no.
to have that narrative pull, is
It's
it not?
not.
Oh,
What you're thinking
it's
is
not
that
good
the
for my
narrative,
fantasy league.
what you think is the narrative will save it. It won't. You are
Okay.
either in for this crafting, survival, resource scavenging bullcrap, or you're not. And
Right.
I will say, like, the first 3 hours of this game are just like, you know, you're like, oh God, can you make this any easier on me? Like, I just want to go over here, or I just want to get that thing. And like, I don't know how to do this. And you're making it very hard, like you said, to make this door. I don't have what I need, or I can't fit this in the box, and I need to fit this so I have more space to move this from over here or whatever. And the game's just like, fuck off. Like, you know, like it's just like, yeah, figure it out. Like, whatever, you know, and like, you're just like, okay, fine. I'll go F myself then, and I'll figure it out. And I think if you're willing to do that, and you're like, okay, I'll run some more missions. I'll go out there. I'll see what this Bizarro Land game that just says quality of life, chuck it in the bin. You're not getting any of that here. What are you about, game? Like, what's going on? And like when I figured out like, oh, I am reviewing this for y'all because y'all didn't get a code, that put me in a different mindset of like, no, we're doing this. Because initially I was DMing Donnie and I was like, I don't know if you guys want me to review this because, like, I kind of hate it. Like, I don't think this is a good game.
All opinions are valid.
I think this game is like trying to insult me and my time. And then I played it more, and I did another excursion, or like whatever you call it. Like, you go out into the zone and then you extract, which the extraction is really, really cool. Like, did you do like one after the initial one where like they don't handhold you? Because the first one, which you probably experienced in the demo, they're like, okay, you're going to go pick up these things, and then when you pick it up, there's going to be like a timer, and like you got to get out before the timer's over. And they kind of like walk you through it, so you don't really feel like the tension. But like I was just like in the zone later on, and I didn't even pull the thing off the thing, you know, that like destabilizes the world or whatever, that then like makes it to where, or no, you pull those off and you charge your car, and then you say, all right, I'm going to activate the gateway, and then when you activate it, the beam comes out of the sky and you got to drive into it, and the Fortnite storm like starts closing in on you, right? Like, I know you experienced that at least once, like probably in like a tutorialization of it. After that, there's just like an alarm that goes off, like it's like, I don't know, like Soviet Russia or something, or like what, like you're in like the irradiated zone, or it seems like it's like Metro, like from the Metro series or something. It's just like or whatever, and you're like, what is that? Like, what's going on? There's like an echo or whatever, and then like the like irradiated walls just start like closing in on you. You're like, oh shit, I gotta go. And you're like turning on the car or whatever, and like, I kid you not, like
fumbling with the keys.
Yeah, like I'm like, yeah, I gotta get in park. I gotta go. You're like, and you're out of gas. And you're like, I gotta find gas, or like whatever. Like, if you stay in there too long doing your podunk stupid resource scavenging thing, you got to get out of there, and the extraction is really intense. I hate that I'm not going to have enough time, I don't think, to put out a video review on the channel. I'll probably just end up doing like this podcast review, and the written review, obviously, which will be up on the site by the time people hear this, fingers crossed. But yeah, like, I have such good footage of I am just hauling ass to get out of this
freaking
zone.
out,
like everything is closed, like I mean, like everything's like burning up around me, my guy's taking health damage, I'm just like trying to get into this beam of light, and I drive into it, and I just go ka-chunk, and he just like throws me into the side of the garage door, like I warp to the garage, you know, I'm just like ka-chunk, like, and I crash in, and I'm like, oh all right, I made it back. And I think that's the point at which I was like, oh, okay, I get what's going on here. And then I go to the R&D hub like at the garage, and it's like I can R&D now because I got like points, I guess, from going out. Like I don't know where you even get them from, but you get like points that you can use to R&D, and like now I've got like armored doors and stuff that I've developed. I know I got the blueprints, and I know how to make them now. So my car looks totally different from the way that it looked before. And so it's like, okay, I get it. So I go out there into the zone. I don't get to drive there. It's not like a driving, resource management. Like, I got to make sure my car has fuel, like whatever game. That's not what we're doing here. It's not a Trek road trip type of, point A to point B game. It's not Death Stranding. That's not what we're doing.
Do you think it would be better if it was?
I'd like it better, I think. But it'd be a lot more time consuming. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a loop. It's like an hour loop of, okay, I know where I'm going. I'm deploying here. I'm going to go out there. It's a little bit procedurally generated. It kind of gives you a layout of like, here's what's going on in this zone right now, like before you plot where you're going to depart to. And so it gives you an idea of like, here's the like conditions. Like it kind of tells you like what the procedural generator engine is probably like calculating. You know, it's like, yeah, it's hot, there's a lot of enemies there, and it's like a little bit unstable, so you might have less time. Or it's really stable, you have a lot of time, and the enemies are like pretty low level or like whatever, and you can kind of decide where you want to go. And it'll also tell you, I think, like how good the resources you can get are. And so you're like, okay, I'm gonna go out there to that zone, and you deploy and you're podunking around and you're trying to get stuff. This is like after you complete all the narrative stuff, because the narrative, it gives you stuff to do. Like the narrative is like, go here, go to the top of this tower, set this thing up because it's going to give us readings or whatever, or drive over here into the anomaly thing like I talked about. Like after you finish all that mission structure, then it's more about like, I'm going to deploy here, I'm doing a run, I'm going out there, I'm going to try and get as much good shit as I can possibly get to bring a haul back to my garage, to do all this R&D, to put stuff on my car. Now it's like an armored, Humvee basically, or like whatever, and you're like building up this car, building up all this R&D to make the car better. And so you're going out there and you're like, let me get all the stuff I can get. Let me get all the stuff I can get. Like trying to traverse, cover all the ground, cover the whole map, scavenge everything, break down everything, pick everything up. Now you're getting better materials because, you're progressing through the game. So the stuff that's dropping is better. You now have blueprints where you can take those more mundane like plastics and gears and like whatever, and you can turn that into better stuff now because you have all this crafting ability. So even the stuff before, you're like, this is just fabric. Well, now the fabric, you can make something like pretty like high level out of that. So you're going out there trying to get as much stuff as you can, and then you hear the and you're like, oh man, I don't have much time left. And then you're like, okay, what do I do? There's still a building over there, and one major accessibility thing that I turned on that I think is game changing is I can see loot through walls. Like I made loot, like it shines, it gleams, it glows like yellow, so I can see loot anywhere as long as I'm like, I have to be within 100 yards of it or whatever. I can't imagine playing this game without doing it. I would hate going in a building and be like, where's the loot? I don't know, whatever. I beeline for it, pick it up. Huge quality of life thing. It didn't turn off trophies, so I turned that on.
Right. Okay, so that one doesn't do it.
No, it doesn't. There's like an accessibility thing, and then there's like a you're a cheater list, basically. So like the stuff in the like accessibility is like color blindness and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I turned that one on, and that helped a lot. I don't know if you didn't have like, did you have any indicator of where like toolboxes or loot or anything was? That you just had to find it?
Not in the demo. You just had to find it.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
and
awful.
it was quite
awful. Yeah, I can't imagine. Oh God, I can't imagine playing the game. I might have to like go back and put something in the review about that. Like turn this on, because holy crap, if you don't have this on. So I know where I'm going. I pull up to the shack and I'm like, I see there's 5 things in there. I got to go open them. It very much makes things a little more like we're on a mission. We're getting stuff done. Mm-hmm. And so like that being the case, it's like, oh, there's this other area of map with like, it looks like it's 2 shacks and a gas station or whatever. But the alarm just sounded. I probably got like 15 minutes. Do I go over there? Because I haven't even charged up the car with the like little orb, the power orbs things. So like, do I go over there and get the stuff? Do I have time, or do I have to go get the power orbs and charge the thing and activate the gateway and get the heck out of here? Because I don't want to lose all my shit. So it's like, and that's when it starts getting tense of like, I'll just loot one more area. I'll just break down one more car, or whatever. And you're really pushing that boundary of like how long. And so that one where I had to haul ass to get out. I mean, when I tell you like on the map, like literally it was just like red border, like right around my little icon, like on the map, like as I was leaving, like there was no more time. And like that felt like really cool. And to get back with like a really big haul and be able to use that to make my car better, I was like, oh, that's what the game is. And that's all it is. And that's why I kept playing it, and why I really want to kind of like, I don't know, do everything there is to do and make the car as good as I possibly can, because I really just kind of played through the campaign and then did some extra stuff to be like, okay, what's the like end game here? And that's what it is.
Yeah.
You're making your car better. You're going out. It's an extraction game. You're deploying to the zone.
Yeah.
You're traversing the zone. You're Minecrafting it. You're Valheim, Ark, Survival Evolved, Pow World, whatever survival game you want to reference, breaking stuff down, getting the resources. And I will say, I don't like those survival games. Like, I bounced off Pow World even, as much as I like Pokemon, because I don't like Ark or Rust or The Forest or Valheim, because like I don't want to go out and hit a tree for 5 minutes and hit a rock for 5 minutes to mine my ore and to chop my wood or whatever and go build a house or a fort or whatever so I can do what? Look at it? Stand inside it? Like what? Like I'm like, oh, this is my base. It's like, oh, I gotta defend it from the guys that come in, and I gotta don't. And it's like all the gameplay is like centered around, like I build the thing, and it's like playing house, I guess, or like I build a creation and I marvel at it and like I protect it because I'm proud of it. But that's all the gameplay is the same. It's centered around building things that exist, and they're kind of trophy-esque or like art-esque. Like Minecraft is like I built a thing and it's cool and I get to be in it and interact in it. But it doesn't directly influence, I don't think, the gameplay that you're experiencing. And so I liken this game a little bit to those games, but also I would liken it to Death Stranding in a way, even though I said it's not quite like Death Stranding. It is like Death Stranding in the sense of this game and Death Stranding both start you out and the gameplay is kind of shit. Like in Death Stranding, you are literally walking across like miles of land.
Steady now.
I love Death Stranding.
Steady.
I put 80 hours into it. I love Death Stranding.
Good. Steady.
But you start out with nothing. You have no like utility. You're just on foot carrying stuff. And that can feel kind of not great from a gameplay point. And the same thing with the car. Craig can attest to this. It doesn't handle good. It won't turn when you want it to. The tires blow off. You hit like one bump or like one barrel explodes. Your reading's going off. It's like red, danger, your car's effed, like, you know, like whatever. And it's obtuse and it's unforgiving. And you're like, oh my God, dude. And same thing with Death Stranding. Like you're trying to climb this mountain and you're just like, oh, whoops, it's muddy. And you just slip down. Oh, and all your stuff goes everywhere.
Yeah, it is.
And then later, right? You get like a motorcycle and you get, you know,
you build roads. Yeah.
Dude, I've like I said,
Zip
I spent
lines.
80 hours in Death Stranding. I still haven't finished the story because I probably spent like 30 hours building that entire highway system across whatever the continental United States of whatever Kojima.
Wait till you build
called.
zip lines to get you all around the map. That's the real achievement.
But I built the entire highway system. Like I got all the resources, built a highway from like where you start in the game, like the first base, all the way into like the snow region. And that took probably like 30 hours to do that. And then I was like, well, I'm going to use it now. So I'm just making deliveries like on my highway. And so like you're doing not fun stuff. At least I would say with Death Stranding to start. I don't know that that's incredibly fun. Like the world building there, amazing. It's evocative. There's something rich and deep about it. Like the music starts playing as you get over the crest of a hill. It's very compelling. Kojima knows how to bring you into a world. So I'm not in any way comparing this to that because this game has none of that. Okay, it's just your dinky kind of survival indie game. It has a little bit of the Firewatch type of narrative stuff we talked about, but that's about it. And that does help. It does help. And I'm sure Craig would agree in that regard. It does provide some intrigue. You're like, okay, like they're saying some interesting stuff here. Like, I want to know more about this. But it's not like carrying it in any way. And I think that's what you're saying is like, does the narrative bring it over the line? No. But what brings it over the line at the end of the day is like with Death Stranding, you are doing not fun gameplay to get stuff, to research and develop tech and utility and stuff that directly affects your gameplay. So now you have a cycle. Now you have a little thing that you tote behind you that you can put pallet packages on. Now you can make a bridge with the car. Now you've got better tires. Now you've got a plow on the front of it. Now you've got a radar thing that can tell you where stuff is on the map. Building on it. And so it directly, when I go out next time, my gameplay experience is better and I can do more. And there's more depth and a capacity of what I can do utility and function wise because I went out last time. And so that's
there's always an upgrade and end of the hook.
Yes.
Just so that next.
That's where I think this game shines is, yes, it starts out kind of shit so that you feel the disparity as your car gets better, as you get more capabilities. And so that's the entire hook of the game. Like if you're not feeling by like hour 4 or 5 the difference in your gameplay of like, dang, my car's better, I can do more, or I put a radar on the top of it, I can now see where a certain resource is on the map, and I can go find that and get that. So I'm not pressed for time or whatever with the extraction, and various stuff like that. I don't know if you got to look at the R&D trees, but there's like 10 tabs, I think, of like trees that like spread out like 5, 6, 7 deep wide of like each branch of the tree that you can R&D. And like that would have to take hours upon hours. Like I'm only like 12, 13, 14 hours into this, and yeah, I would imagine you can play this for probably 30 hours and maybe not build every research and develop every single thing. So like that's who this game is for. Like this is for the streamer guys that are going to be on Twitch playing this day in and day out. Their car is just like a freaking specimen, dude. It's tricked out with it's got the best tires and the best armor and like whatever, and it just looks awesome. And they go out there and they're on a minute and they do everything. They get all the best stuff and they haul it back. Their trunk's so big they don't even have to worry about inventory management anymore. It's so big they don't have to fit things in like the little corner or whatever. And I think that's where it's at, is like that's where you're going to feel satisfied and gratified with the gameplay loop of like, I earned this. I went out and did these missions, and the result of that, the reward for that is that it directly affects my gameplay. Hour 8 and 9 affects hour 12 and 13. Hour 12 and 13 affects hour 16 and 17, and so on and so forth. And that's the pull of this game. And if people aren't in it for that, there's nothing here. There's nothing here for you.
Yeah.
Don't go in this being like, oh, I don't really like that, but the narrative might. No, don't do it. Go play Firewatch. Go play The Invincible. Go play one of those walking simulator type games. This is not the game for you. You've got to be on board for that Death Stranding type of start out with very limited capability, and then you are you are building upon it, and you're making your gameplay better by going out and doing the hard work and then coming back, and then now that's not so hard. And the fun part is feeling how not hard that is now, and how cool it is that you're able to do all these things. And that's where this game shines, and that's why I think I'm ending up giving it a 7 on the Pure Dead Gaming site, because that loop at its core is good. As uninviting and unwelcoming as this game is, and it really doesn't help with quality of life, and the inventory management is just mundane and pedestrian, and the loop is a little bit repetitive and rote, at a certain point you're like, I do want to go out again. I want to see, like, what can I upgrade?
They've got me.
What can I upgrade when I get back? Like, and what am I going to experience? Because there is variance. Like I've encountered like even 6, 7, 8 hours in, I encountered like new enemies that I hadn't seen before, like weird robot stuff and like whatever. And so like, and you can go into zones that are like radioactive and like not safe, if you want to try that, because your car is souped up enough to do that. So there's different things that you can explore, but it's very self-imposed. Like you've got to be like, I want to go do this. I want to go do this today, or I've never been in an irradiated zone with the car. Is my car ready for that? Let's see if this type of tech that I have put on the car, if that will help me there, or if I'm just going to have to turn around and leave because I'm like, I can't even breathe, I'm dying, or like whatever. Like you have to kind of go figure that out. And that might be annoying because you get out there and you're like, oh, yep, I gotta go back because I'm effed, or whatever. It doesn't hold your hand. You're going to have those moments where you're like, frick. Okay, well, I'm up a hill without what I need, or whatever, and you just kind of, you're like, well, you know what? I'm going to figure out how to deal with that. And that's sort of where it is. It's very much a kind of engineer mindset. How do I tackle this problem? And if you're not there for that, and you're not going to self-impose that on yourself of like, I am going to do another run. Why? I don't know. Maybe I can do something cool with the car when I get back. If you're not there for that, yeah, this game is not going to be for you. And I am eager to see what reviews look like tomorrow, because I don't think people are ready for what type of game this is. I'm thinking 7s and 8s. I think it's going to find, hopefully, the right people review it. I think it's going to find the right audience, and I think
that'll be key.
There's going to be a group of people out there that just think this is the best freaking game that was ever made of all time. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's going to be that.
You're relying on survival fans.
Yes.
playing and reviewing this. Anyone who doesn't like a survival game is
with
not
the
going to
car
enjoy
and
it.
all that, and the narrative nuance, and just the
Mechanic simulator.
There's just like cool shit like in this game, like just like I don't know, you just like what is going on over there, or like whatever. And there's like just a level of intrigue and ominousness, and that whole sort of thing with like the control kind of parallel with the anomalies and stuff that we were talking about at the top of this, and just that is captivating. It makes it more captivating to me than an Ark Survival Evolved or a Rust or whatever, which is very bare bones. Like I hit the wood, I build the thing, and it has that gameplay loop that improves and improves and improves utility wise. So there's a lot of gameplay here. There's a lot of depth here, and that's probably all we should say on that because we talked at length.
Well, my turn to talk now, and I'm going to keep this brief before we start the news. We've got 2 talking points, but I just want to quickly talk about Helldivers.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it? No, if you're not on Twitter, you've not heard of it either.
Never heard of it.
I'm 65 hours in already, and it's the only game I want to play, and it's the only game that I care about. For those that haven't played it, essentially, it's got a very basic loop, but don't take that as a negative. It's effectively landing on a planet which is pre-generated, and you have a goal of getting from A to B, and the goal you have will depend on which mission you choose, and there's a variety of different ones there, and around you will be various sort of side quests and outposts you need to either destroy or whatever. And then at the end of that, once you do it all, you want to try and extract before the hordes get you. The gameplay loop is absolutely fantastic. Like, you literally feel like you're in a movie when you have enemies around you, pounding you, shooting you. You have explosions going off. You might have hellfire raining down on you. You might have, in my case the other day, playing with Lono, him shooting you in the face, or in my case, throwing grenades at my teammates, and all hell can just break loose. And the game, for a game that's AA, no point feels like a AA game. This game reeks of treble A all the way through it, from its lighting to its sound, the visuals, the gameplay. I know it took, I think it said it was 7 years to make, which you do appreciate that there's going to be budgets involved in that, but a team of 100 people have just made an incredible, incredible game. When you're kind of like running around your map, trying to obviously kill beasts, kill robots, trying to avoid your friends throwing things at you, you get in this sort of real tough mindset of where you're trying to maybe try and bring some of your squad in that you've killed or they've killed. You try to launch stratagems, which are can be sort of various orbital strikes, or it could be trying to bring in a turret, and you effectively have to type in a code on your D-pad for each one of these, and it's on your screen. You bring up what stratagem you want to release. So when you're running and you're being chased, or you're in the middle of a gunfight and you're trying to type in what's basically a fucking Mortal Kombat kill code, it does get extremely frantic and extremely tough, and you feel like that adrenaline rush when you type it in wrong and you fail and you have to start again and you're trying to avoid being shot from behind. It's it's such a fun game. Yes, it can be played solo, but it's much better in squads, playing with sort of 3-4 people. Luckily, we've got a core of about 15 people now, I think, that are all playing it, so we're never stuck for squads. As you sort of progress in the game, you can then as you level up, you unlock more either from the battle pass itself, or you can then unlock more stratagems to get more powerful, and you can then effectively create different builds, because as you increase the difficulty, you want to start being a bit smarter and start thinking about your builds, where you might have someone with you who takes a supply backpack, because again, as the levels get up, ammo gets very, very tough. And when one of your stratagems you've always got is a resupply, that's on a 3-minute cooldown, I think, a 2 or 3 minute cooldown. So if you run out of ammo, you're out. That's it. So again, one of our guys always brings the backpack in, so then we've got supply off of him, just giving us a little boost. So you want to try and play around with these sort of different builds, and and again, one of the other guys, he's got an armor which gives him extra stims, so he can heal us as well as himself. So all these little things start to play a part, and you're almost trying to figure out what's the best combination of offense and defense to then do whatever your goal is. Not every goal is the same. So it just becomes this real fun fun combination of gameplay that you have to try and figure out, and you won't always get it right, especially as the levels go up. There's times you're like, yeah, we completely made an arse of that because someone they might have only brought in one wrong thing, and it screws the entire gameplay. So absolutely loving it. There's a lot more to come. It is worth saying, and it's worth pointing out because it shouldn't get a pass, but just because it's a Sony or PlayStation game, the servers are absolutely on fire, as most people know. Unfortunately, it's a good problem to have. The game has sold clearly too many copies. They didn't budget for it. After day 2, it sold about 1 million copies. It sounds like they budgeted for 500,000, and since then it's gone. I mean, the Steam concurrents are sitting at 400,000. The servers can't take it. Like I said, it is a good problem to have, but at the same time, it's frustrating because it took me 45 minutes to get on the other day. And I know, as at this moment in time, people are struggling to get on, and there doesn't seem to be a quick fix for it. Just buy more server space. Not how it works. Okay, not how it works.
Yeah. There was an interesting thing that I saw online that apparently there's no auto kick. So they were saying that people have been just leaving their console. Like if they manage to get into a game, they've just been leaving their console on, and it's almost holding their space.
Yes,
that's a bit of an oversight. But again, obviously they weren't
expecting it. No, they did not expect this, because if they did, they would have anticipated more server space. So it's a victim of its own success, and unfortunately, what you've seen in the last sort of 3 days is, as that Steam concurrent has risen, that Steam score is dropping almost in parallel with it. And I saw yesterday it was down to like 70%, which I think was up at 80%. So it's kind of, people are going, well, fuck this, and they are responding negatively, even though they're aware of what's happening. So there's that sort of.
I haven't seen that in the console space at all. That must be these gross PC gamers.
Yeah, there's these PC
With
wankers.
the people that are on PlayStation, like they're like, oh, okay, like I don't see anybody blaming them for, like, if you have half a brain cell, you understand that there's no way that a little $40 game they would have expected to have all these people. So like,
it's insane.
It's not like Diablo 4 where it's like it launches and you're like, why can't I get in the game? Like, I think everybody is, or at least should be, like, oh, like this makes sense, like they're at capacity, and that's good. That's good for the health of the game. Like, I think most people recognize that. And also, like, if people get annoyed and they leave, then it just means that it's easier for the people that are, have
the ones like me that'll stick around.
Yeah. So I think I don't see the game suffering as a result of it. I think they'll stay at whatever their capacity is because people do want to play it, and I don't see like, if they're close to capacity but they're not full, people will be able to get in, right? So like, they're just going to lose people that would be able to get in anyway, and then they'll just be able to have the maximum number of people. Like, I don't see how they would lose, people to where they would go down to like 300,000 or whatever, because like, oh, it's hard to get in. Well, it's not now because you left, so I don't see that being a pervasive problem for them, and they're only going to try to expand more and more, which is great to see, right? Because we just had so many layoffs, so hopefully they hire a bunch of talent out there to like help with this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the positives out of it is they've said that they've tweeted out saying this, and they're looking for people to bolster the numbers. They're looking to hire people because they're what they're saying is that they want to have new content of varying degrees of size and scope every second Thursday, I think they said, which is a tall order, but. There's so much from Helldivers 1 that they've barely even touched yet, and what they can do is, because this game is live service, they can literally treat it like a live tabletop game, in that on Thursday last week, they literally just announced, the robot faction have pushed further towards Super Earth, and it's now became a sort of a global a global campaign where we're kind of, as all the players can need to kind of stick together, because if we as the gamers lose this, that will affect the long-term success of the game. So it actually becomes a focused effort. We all now have to forget about the bugs. If you're playing against the bugs, you need to turn back. You need to come over here, because we've got an issue that we will lose ground in this global war of this sort of live game. That is very, very cool that they can do that and just switch it like that. So I do like that. And it's these things that kept Helldivers 1 going. Granted, Helldivers 1, at its peak, had like 6,500 on Steam at its peak. and we're now hitting 400,000 for Helldivers 2. So for anyone that's saying, "Oh, buy more server space," that's what they were up against. It's unbelievable. Loving it. Can't wait to play more. Chances are, when we finish here tonight, I won't get on anyway. So, what you gonna do? Xbox putting games on PlayStation, like Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment, etc. That tells you there's a problem. When that's happened, there's a problem. And I think the day that single-player games go day and date, and I'm talking about big games, so your Spider-Mans, your God of Wars, the day that's happening, that tells you there's a problem. That's the only reason you make such big changes is there's problems.
With Xbox, like, the reason they brought their games to PC day one is because they're in second place and they need to think out the box. They need to do whatever they can to try and make that back. The reason day one games come to Game Pass is because they're in second place.
Too. I don't know. I think there's just general cohesion and synergy between those two platforms.
You're right. You could say that, but day one Game Pass, they would not have done that if they were in first place. That was a second place move. It's a swing for the fences move.
Yeah,
they're going to make these, like. To me, the reason that these 4 unnamed games that we all know what they are coming to PlayStation is because
Can you imagine if it was like Forza?
I would take Forza Horizon. That's a great game, man.
Oh, it's Sea of Thieves and Grounded, and it's like Forza Motorsport, like the new one. That'd be hilarious.
But I mean,
these games... PlayStation doesn't want Forza on PlayStation. They've got Gran Turismo.
No, they probably are. Yeah, you're too right.
No chance.
But the reason these games are coming to PlayStation... Exactly, coming to PlayStation is because PlayStation clearly said no to Game. I would put money on that Xbox tried to get Game Pass on PlayStation and were told exactly where to go, and so this is the sort of revised idea. Is to dip their toes in this way.
They asked Switch,
because
they were like, "You guys need us almost. Like, there's some games that your hardware can't handle," and they're like, "We're gonna do some cloud stuff. Don't worry about it. It's fine. We don't need you."
They clearly went to Nintendo and to PlayStation. Were told, "Fuck off." Sorry, get in the bin. And
get in the bin.
Get in the bin. And this is their sort of revised idea. What else? How else can we approach this? Because again, it's a second place move that you have to make. Because otherwise, through traditional means, through just like, see if Xbox were to turn around tomorrow and just start putting out better games than PlayStation. That's not enough to turn the tide. It's just not enough.
I hate that. I hate that Phil said that. I hate that as a mindset. Maybe
it was
do it and see
to
if
say
it
that
works.
was
true, though.
Maybe do it and see if it works.
Yeah,
but
I think it's true.
I don't know. Like, if Baldur's,
but it was so
imagine if
defeatist,
Baldur's
though.
Gate 3 was only on Xbox. Like, imagine a world where a game that's that good, that gets that much, or Alan Wake 2 or something, and then there's 1, and then there's 2, and then there's 3, and now you're like, I might need a.
Over time it would.
That's what
but it would take time.
PlayStation does. That's
Yep.
why can't they do that? It doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm literally gonna play. I'm not, because I haven't played Remake. But if I'm the average PlayStation gamer, I'm gonna play Helldivers, quality. I'm gonna play Rebirth at the end of this month, quality. I'm gonna play Rise of the Ronin. Maybe not graphically pushing the envelope, but in terms of gameplay systems, open world, giving you that Assassin's Creed, finally in feudal Japan with samurais. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that Ghost of Tsushima really delivered on that. It's kind of its own game. Quality. Stellar Blade looks insane. Quality.
It's amazing.
That's month after month after month. And Xbox is like, we got Redfall and Starfield, and one of those is ass, and the other one is like not as good as we said it was going to be.
Both ass.
I mean, like, I like Starfield, but I also like
I thought it was all right.
It's a 7. It's a 7.
I like Bethesda, like, hello, how are you doing? Like, I like that.
There's some comfort about it.
Like it zooms in on the hello. How are you? Like, like whatever. Like they're like turned around. Like they're like, hello. Haven't seen you here before. Like whatever. Like that's
It
reminds me of the angle the wrestlers stand at when they do interviews backstage. Always at a 90 degree.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, listen. I know we got the 4 games. I thought it was interesting where they got the whole Starfield and Indiana Jones thing out. Straight away they got that out of the conversation as quickly as possible. They got that out, and at the same time,
did it clarify for good that it's not ever happening?
Yeah, no. Because The Verge instantly launched
it back
at the exact
Tom
same
Warren
time.
Is a menace, dude. Did you guys see that he like posted on my post? And he was like, "Please don't use Verge imagery in your quote post, please. It's not to my liking, actually. I would really prefer if you would refrain from doing that. Okay, Tom. I told him, I was like,
Yeah.
if it infringes on your trademarks or copyrights, let me know. I'll take it down. But I think you're just gotta stick up your butt. But anyway, he does good work, so I won't crap on him that much.
Yeah, because obviously he launched that article at the same time, which completely didn't contradict is the wrong word.
Back. It
walked it back, yeah, and it clarified, because again, when you watch that 22-minute shit show, you immediately thought he said, "Oh, Starfield and Indiana Jones aren't going to PlayStation." That's what you thought you heard, and we all thought we heard that, but we didn't hear that. We heard it's one of the 4 games.
Which I think in reality
is one of the 4 games.
Really does mean that they're not going to put them on PlayStation. But I think what he's saying is like, look, if we put Hi-Fi Rush on PlayStation and it sells gangbusters, then yeah, we're gonna do it. Like if Hi-Fi Rush breaks records on PlayStation, how are they going to go to their shareholders and be like, yeah, we're not doing that for Starfield? Like they have to do it, but he doesn't think that's going to happen. Nobody thinks that's going to happen. So he's not.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Like he wants to say, no, we're not doing it. Like based on all the emails that we've read from the court hearings and everything, like Phil values his exclusives. It's important to him. It's important to Matt Booty too. They want to bring value to their platform in terms of what's accessible purely on that platform, and they don't want to give their best games away, especially not an IP like Indiana Jones. If they could make Marvel Blade exclusive, they will. I don't know that Disney's going to let them or Marvel's going to let them, but yeah, like I think it's just like a thing of like, man, I want a CYA here because who knows? Maybe Hi-Fi Rush sells double what it already sold, and it's just because of PlayStation. And we're like, wow, the power of that install base. We did not realize that we're missing out on.
Well, I think it's Switch. It's Switch that's going to sell it. I think Pentiment and Hi-Fi will do well on Switch. They are Switch type games.
Yeah, but you don't have to worry about those for Starfield and Indiana.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
I got them.
Can you imagine if they got Starfield running on Switch?
The board at Microsoft won't care about those finer details. Though. They'll just look at the overall numbers and go, get Starfield on there. It's them pulling the strings here.
Satya and company would be like, yep.
They're pulling the strings big style here.
Print the PlayStation discs and ship them out. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, if you're a board member or part of the leadership team at Microsoft, and you're seeing monthly active users at 123 million and a PlayStation 5 install base of 50 odd million, your reaction isn't, I'm glad we have exclusives. It's, why the fuck's our games not on there? 123 million people are buying 19 million games, and our games, what are we doing here? Oh, but we like, what are we doing here? They don't care about our petty console war that the 1% care about. It's a money game, like we just spoke about with PlayStation. They're not interested in those exclusive details. 123 million people played a PlayStation last quarter. Get our games on there.
What do you think in terms of, so I think we're all sort of, it's pretty much been confirmed, without being confirmed, what the 4 games are. Now, Grounded and Sea of Thieves make perfect sense. Live service games. We spoke about that with PlayStation, putting them on PC. Makes sense for these games to be available as much as possible. Pentiment and Hi-Fi Rush, on the other hand, I'm interested on how they landed on those two. The thing that makes sort of maybe the most sense to me is that they looked and went, right, these Grounded and Sea of Thieves make sense for PlayStation. These other 2 make sense for Switch, maybe? Like, because they're not going to sell well on PlayStation, I don't think. Look, I loved Pentiment. I thought it was brilliant. I love that type of game. I thought it was excellent. It was one of my favourite games that year. But that is not selling a lot of copies on PlayStation. So, see if this was
no one played it on Game Pass either, though. No one played it on there for free. They had it for free.
So see if this was an experiment, or let's put some games on and see how they sell.
I played Pentiment.
Have you not? It's really good.
Yeah.
It's good.
I need
it's
to.
Good.
I like Inclinati, so.
Yeah, it's really good. But yeah, if you were like, I keep hearing people say, well, they're putting these games on as an experiment to see how they sell. If that's true, then I'm sorry, but Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment are a shit choice.
No.
Really bad.
Hi-Fi Rush is a shit choice.
You don't think Hi-Fi Rush is going to sell well on PlayStation?
No. You
I think it's a good game, but I don't think it's going to sell well.
Crazy.
No, wait. Hi-Fi Rush was played by 4 million people. It was free. and it was on Steam, you could complete it in a weekend, and 4 million people played it, and 50% of people didn't beat the first boss. Who on PlayStation's buying that game? If it's 30 quid, maybe. If it's $30,
if you're
30
saying
quid,
4
maybe.
million played it, I bet it sells
4 million.
1 million easy on PlayStation.
But that's not enough, though. That's nothing. You
To
do
put
the
it over
maths.
there?
1 million.
If it sells
Yeah,
a million,
million's
I
not
think
enough.
that'd be a huge
That's not
success.
enough.
I don't.
That's not
Yeah.
for Mike's
Yeah.
bigger picture. That's
A
nothing.
million would be a huge success.
Yeah,
I think
that's
for
a
that
million
game.
to 2 million, I think it'll sell, and they'll
Nah,
be very happy
that's-
with that.
If they
it's
sell
barely-
that,
it's
I think
barely
they'll be
even
delighted.
worth. Nah, I don't think so. That's barely even worth it.
The port.
I don't think they'll sell
It's
that
like a
many,
book.
but if they do, I think it's worth it.
What? That's the net profit of that's probably Phil Spencer's bonus for this year. What the fuck are we talking about here? 1 million copies. Yeah. What are we talking about here?
Wait.
Phil's a
That's
big
that-
deal. You leave him alone. If it sells that well, I think that'd be a big success. I don't know. I see a lot of PlayStation gamers just being like, I don't want this year-old
And then
Microsoft
Sea
game.
of Thieves is just a inferior version of Skull and Bones, so I don't want that.
Yeah. I've heard you twice today talk about Skull and Bones.
I don't need. I don't.
We're
need
not.
to,
we're not pulling that thread.
I don't need to talk about it. I kind of want to hear you
Yeah.
guys' thoughts, and then we can maybe close out on that. Have you guys?
No,
played
we've
it?
not. We've no.
Oh,
I
okay.
played a beta of it about 2 years ago.
Oh, the beta. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. We don't need to cover it because I've already talked about it today. But y'all heard my
Yeah.
thoughts.
I did twice.
And you're like this crazy guy, dude. I told Donnie, let me write a review. Like, let's start some shit. You know, we can be the highest.
for it.
We can be the highest on the Open Critic.
Go for it.
The only 9 out of 10 in Open
Hell
Critic, and
yeah,
everyone
dude.
boycotts the website.
Well, I told him we can wait 2 seasons in, and then I can use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it's not good 2 seasons in, that would be pretty damning. So they need to get their Ubisoft fix it hat on and do the Siege thing and do what they do. They build out worlds, and I think it's the best pirate online game on the market. It's better than Sea of Thieves. It's Open Critic is right around where Sea of Thieves is at. I didn't realize Sea of Thieves was like 63, like it's bad, 65 or something.
I think if Sea of Thieves was reviewed today, it'd probably be late 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even
it was
still,
launched
yeah.
really bare bones,
Yeah,
didn't it?
it's the launch.
Unintended.
Yeah.
There's so many better games out there than Sea of Thieves. So yeah, it's a Hail Mary throw to sort of bring it back to where we need to be. It's a Hail Mary throw for them to put Sea of Thieves and Grounded on PlayStation. Nobody cares about Sea of Thieves. Nobody cares about Grounded. I mean, I when they said they were putting that game in early access, I was like, I could not be bothered less to play that game. I mean, I've never wanted to be in a backyard. No, I'm tiny. I'm big as ants. Okay, whatever. I'd rather play Bug Snacks or like some of that crap than play Grounded. And again, you got the PlayStation branding there. It's on everything now. But yeah, no, I mean, High on Life already came to PlayStation, right?
Yeah, it did, and no one touched it.
Yeah, it was a
Nobody
3-month
touched it at all.
exclusive.
So that
No one touched it.
That game's better than the other two, so that should give you an idea with those two.
Yeah.
But I do think, if nothing else, just for the console war memery, Hi-Fi Rush is selling 1 to 2 million copies. I'll guarantee it right now. Absolutely, it's gonna sell.
This will be interesting to look back on then, because
Yeah.
that is. I feel like that's a
probably
lofty
never get-
expectation.
You'll probably never get the figures, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You'll probably never find that out. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Before we close up,
do the
did
PlayStation
you...
profiles trick.
I multiply it.
It's not an exact science, but it's worked for many games.
It's not far off.
Times it by 12.
Yeah.
Or is it 13?
Interesting.
13.
But yeah, I
Go on
didn't
the side of
finish-
caution
I
and do
didn't
12.
finish Hi-Fi Rush. I thought it was.
No one did. No one fucking
I
did.
didn't
That's the
finish
thing.
it.
I don't believe
No one-
that.
no-
There's
no
so many
one
people that
did.
think it's like game of the
No
year.
one did.
Do you think these people
Yeah.
are like non-existent? Like they're not real?
No. Go. You can go on your Xbox and look at the 50% of people didn't beat the first boss. I think it's only got an 8% completion rate or 12%. That's it.
There's
For
so
a game
many
you
people
can
out there
you
that
can
are like,
complete
it
it
should have
over
been
the
nominated
weekend.
for game of the year.
Nonsense.
Yeah. I just didn't think
What did you?
the traversal platforming is just not that good, and I didn't think the combat, they didn't nail it. Like the rhythm aspect of it, like it's good. It feels kind of cool at times that I'm like playing a song, but it's not like other rhythm games where I'm like, oh, it's right on beat. Like, it's nailing it. Like, it doesn't have that visceral feeling of like you're in it and you just do it as like stream of consciousness. They just didn't nail
I
it.
couldn't. I didn't feel like I thought once you get into a rhythm of it, you'd sort of feel the beat as you were hitting, but I
Really
never
work like
got to that
yeah.
point. No. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I thought the art style, the aesthetic was really cool.
Yeah,
Very,
that's something
very
that I
cool.
liked as well, was the art style. Yeah.
Maybe
I've got no rhythm, so I couldn't get into the game,
maybe
so I've
I'm
got
just
no rhythm
spoiled by
at
like
all.
Sekiro, which is like more of a rhythm game as far as combat goes.
Rhythm party game.
Yeah.
What did you guys think when you saw the 35 million Game Pass subscriber number?
It's just an inflated bullcrap number that includes their core live base.
Yeah,
they haven't grown.
I tweeted that out at the time. Yeah,
It's
it's stalled.
soft.
Yeah,
Dumb.
yeah.
And then she says, and then the Diablo 4 will be available to all of them, except it's not.
That's big.
Except it's not. It's
Yes,
not available to
she
35
boobed.
million. It's
Yeah,
available to
yeah,
25
she
million.
boobed. Yeah, she boobed. I tweeted to someone. I think they wanted to drop in that 35 million subtly, and she just got her tongue tied.
Yeah.
I think it was a genuine mistake because they're so desperate to get that
Put it on
35
core,
million
you
in.
bitches. Do it.
Yeah, no
You
chance.
said it.
Doesn't pay.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
but
That's
yeah,
the thing. Yeah,
that's a good get
they
for them.
expect it to
Diablo 4
be.
is a great game. I mean, we're on Work the Game right now, I guess, as far as the video goes, but for our Game of the Year awards, I nominated as one of the 6, which is like a high bar.
So did I. So did I for mine.
It's
Yeah.
just freaking good. Like, as far as an online MMO light, trying to do the Destiny thing and the Anthem thing and the Skull and Bones thing and the Suicide Squad thing, give you a console game that approaches MMO systems, just does it well. It's just good co-op, good systems, good world stakes. The freaking having to restart a character, apparently that's been a Diablo thing every time. They should have dropped that. They lost a lot of people. They lost a lot of casual normies that were so ready. Like, they bought that game, they got in there, and they were like, let's go. Diablo 4, this is the one. This is the Diablo that I'm going to play because all the marketing and all the everything, and it's got good graphics, and it's console friendly, and it's like, now Season 1 starts, and you get to do everything again and start over. And everybody's like, are you kidding me, dude? And then everybody just left.
I did the first 2 seasons, and I noped out this season.
Like, I get it that that's Diablo. Like, I understand the people who played Diablo 2, Diablo 3 are gonna be like, that's what it is. I don't care. Change it. Like, change it. You have a broader audience that you're trying to appeal to. Change it. Like, that's it. Have that there and have a rewarding path for people that want to do that, but let people use their characters and be able to enjoy the content with parity to the people that are starting a new character. Like, it's a baffling choice, and I don't understand it. But I played 50 hours of the beta. I did absolutely everything, 100% of the map, and then didn't buy it because I was waiting for this day to come, and now I'm going to jump in on one of the seasons and not have to start all over again other than, having it, like, starting the game again from the beta, and so it's going to work out great for me. But, I feel bad for people that went out and bought it for $70 at launch or even one of the Ultimate Edition.
I don't feel bad. I got 350 hours out of it. Do you know what I mean? I got more. I got my value for money, and I love playing it, so...
Yeah, I was like, I don't even need to buy this. Like, if I just have those 50 hours, like, it was great. It's a fantastic game.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
And I heard, like, the next 2 acts, like, aren't even that great anyway. So I might have played, like, the best part of the game. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us for this podcast takeover from Pure Dead Gaming. That we had to have the boys from across the pond come over to work the game. This was a long one, so if you stuck in for this long, Jesus Christ, what is wrong with you? Don't you have anything better to do? But if you are here, we really appreciate you. And Donnie, go over for them one more time where all your stuff is, what Pure Dead Gaming is, and where the podcast and the Pacific Drive review that I'm going to be laboring extensive tonight to get up on the site by tomorrow morning is going to be found.
Well, I'll let Craig take it. You take the outro, mate.
Okay. You can find us at puredeadgaming.com. You can also find us on Twitter at puredeadgaming, YouTube as well, Pure Dead Gaming, and occasionally over on TikTok as well, which is very stop-start because it's just not a gaming platform. But you can find us over there as well. We're omnipresent. You'll find us anywhere Pure Dead Gaming.
Indeed. Thank you all. Thank you all for having me and Craig, and thank you all for listening. And take care and goodbye.